Chapter 932. Hunting 10 puppets lined up in a row. Each of the puppets' cultivation was around the first-grade human supremacy stage. 10 first-grade human supremacy stage puppets. Even with Ning-Yu's powerful battle prowess, he still found it a little troublesome. Ning-Yu, should we? The Dark Emperor looked at the 10 puppets, then looked at Ning-Yu and said. Why should we? 10 first-grade human supremacy stage puppets. Even if we win, we won't be able to face the upcoming danger. Ning-Yu kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said unhappily. Swoosh. At this moment, one of the flying pythons suddenly dashed out. The little flying python seemed to know how to control the puppets. After it busied itself for a few minutes, the 10 puppets actually turned around and walked toward the bronze door step by step. Dong dong. The 10 puppets moved in unison and stopped in front of the bronze door. Bang, bang, bang. What the puppets did next made Ning-Yu a little dumbfounded. Each of the 10 puppets punched out with their right fists, hitting the bronze door. A series of crisp sounds rang out. Instantly, the bronze door began to shake. Apart from the bronze door, Ning-Yu could even feel the ground trembling. The trembling lasted for 3 minutes before it completely returned to normal. Boom. What followed was an earth-shattering sound. F***ck. Looking at the bronze door that had a few large cracks on it, Ning-Yu's mouth could not help but twitch a few times. Fortunately, he did not fight with these puppets. It turned out that their battle prowess was so strong. Hiss hiss. Seeing that the bronze door was broken, the 4 flying pythons let out a few cheerful cries and flew straight into the hall. As if they were influenced by the little flying goslings, the 10 puppets followed behind them and entered the hall. Let's go too. After pondering for a moment, Ning-Yu also entered the hall. Behind Ning-Yu, the Dark Emperor and the others all followed. Gulp. As soon as he entered the hall, Ning-Yu was shocked by the scene before him. The hall wasn't too big. It could only be described as small. However, although the sparrow was small, it had all the vital organs. Furthermore, there were illusory walls on each of the 4 walls of the hall. The so-called Phantom Wall was a projection of what was happening in other places on the Phantom Wall. The Beast King Palace is divided into 3 areas. At that moment, Qin Xiong said, Outer Region, Inner Region, Core Region. The outer region is made up of the North, South, East, and West regions. The inner region is made up of the Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow regions. As for the core region, there is only one place called the Core Hall. You mean, we haven't stepped into the inner area yet? Ning-Yu frowned. That's right. This place we are in is called the Outer Area's Hub Hall. Qin Xiong pointed at the row of messy rocks in front of the 4 mini flying pythons and continued, those rocks are used to control the arrays and mechanisms in the outer area. As long as they are arranged according to a certain pattern, they can activate the mechanisms in the outer area. Oh, right. Hearing that, Ning-Yu took out the first storage bag that the 6-winged flying python gave him. Ning-Yu clearly remembered that there was a sheepskin scroll in the storage bag that was used to record the combination method. What? You actually have this thing? Seeing the sheepskin scroll in Ning-Yu's hand, Qin Xiong's expression changed drastically and she said, as long as you master the operation method of these mechanisms, you will be the absolute ruler in the outer area. Rumble. Just as Qin Xiong was feeling shocked, a rumbling sound rang out. Hearing this sound, Ning-Yu and the others all turned their heads to look. This look directly caused Ning-Yu and the others to be stunned on the spot. They saw 4 mini flying pythons trapped in a transparent array. And right above the array, 4 large words reflected in everyone's eyes. Python Trapping Array. This array is specially used to deal with the 6-winged flying python. Almost instantly, Ning-Yu reacted. The Python Trapping Array, as the name suggested, was specially used to trap the 6-winged flying python. Combined with the 6-winged flying python's inexplicable actions before entering the Beast King Palace, Ning-Yu vaguely guessed something, but he was not very sure about this matter. What should we do? Should we break this array and save the 4 mini flying pythons? The Dark Emperor stared at the mini flying python in the array and asked. Let's save them first, the rest can be discussed later. Ning-Yu gritted his teeth and decided to save the mini flying python. As for what the six-winged flying python was up to, he temporarily did not care. Anyway, the mini flying python was in his hands. He did not believe that the six-winged flying python would do anything too outrageous. Attack with all your strength. With a low roar, Ningyu was the first to wave the red demon sword and attack the array. The Dark Emperor and the others looked at each other and also joined the army to break the array. Even the 10 puppets attacked at the same time. Crack, crack, crack. Everyone added firewood to the fire. Moreover, with the help of the 10 puppets, it did not take long before the python trapping array was broken. The breaking of the python trapping array meant that the 4 mini flying pythons were saved. Buzz. However, things were developing in a bad direction. As soon as the python trapping array was broken, the space in the area shook and an illusory figure appeared in front of everyone. The six-winged flying python is not stupid. He actually found you guys to help him break the array. The illusory figure's gaze swept across the crowd before landing on Ningyu. Since you've broken through the first layer of the python trapping formation, you'll have to break through the remaining 2 layers of the python trapping formation. What the hell? Ningyu frowned and asked in confusion. I'm not a ghost. To be precise, I'm the same as the six-winged flying python. I'm serving the master of the Beast King Palace. The illusory figure said. However, the six-winged flying python found you as a helper. As long as you can break the 3 python trapping arrays, the six-winged flying python will regain its freedom. F***ck, I've been tricked. Ningyu's face was filled with black lines. At the end of the day, he was still tricked by the six-winged flying python. Hehe, the six-winged flying python is not completely heartless. You have a treasure with you. With that treasure, you have a certain chance of getting the treasures in the Beast King Palace. Perhaps the illusory figure saw through Ningyu's thoughts. He smiled faintly and said, the hunt has begun. This time, I'll spare your lives for the sake of the six-winged flying python. However, if I meet you again, you won't be so lucky. As he spoke, the illusory figure's body became more and more illusory and finally dissipated between heaven and earth. Crack, 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 crack. As soon as the illusory figure disappeared, the 10 puppets exploded instantly. Hiss. Ningyu and the others sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw the 10 puppets turn into nothingness. Chapter 933. Bloodbat King Ningyu, look. However, Ningyu's shock didn't last long before he was attracted by a voice. The Dark Emperor pointed at the illusory wall and exclaimed, "It's Yin Hua and the others," Ningyu said in a deep voice when he saw several figures appearing on the illusory wall. "There's more here." At this moment, the Lightning Wolf King pointed at the illusory wall on the other side. Ningyu looked in the direction of the Lightning Wolf King's palm and saw Zhu Zhun and Yun Mu appearing on the wall. Next, several figures also appeared on the other 2 walls. The Blood God Palace, the Corpse Sect, the Supreme 9 Purities Temple, and the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. The 4 forces and the 4 outer regions. Just right. Ningyu, didn't you grasp the method to activate the array formation in each region? Why don't you take advantage of this and capture them all in one fell swoop? The Dark Emperor said fiercely. Such a rare opportunity. Actually, there was no need for the Dark Emperor to say it. Ningyu had thought of it long ago. Swish. His figure flashed and arrived before the stones in the blink of an eye. He began to arrange them according to the arrangement method on the sheepskin scroll. Swish, swish, swish. In the area where Yin Hua and the others were, a huge crack suddenly appeared in the space and several arrows flew out, shooting toward Yin Hua and the others. Fart, fart. Yin Hua and the Spirit Cauldron Venerable were very strong, so they easily blocked the arrows. However, the remaining people weren't so lucky. After a round of arrows, there were only 5 people left in their group. In other words, apart from the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and Yin Hua, there were 3 people from the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. Damn it. Everyone, be careful. The Spirit Cauldron Venerable cursed. The Beast King Palace is filled with traps. The slightest carelessness will lead to death. Everyone must be careful. Understood. Yin Hua and the others answered. Although Yin Hua and the others answered very casually, it was clear from their expressions and their trembling bodies that they were very nervous at the moment. Spirit Cauldron Venerable, how long until we reach the core hall? Yin Hua asked. Before going to the core hall, we should first go to the hub hall in the outer area. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron said solemnly, I've already investigated before coming here. So long as we take control of the hub hall, then we'll be able to toy with the other three forces. Tut tut tut. In the area where Shui Wuming and the others were located, several icicles emerged from the ground, directly piercing through the souls of the martial artists who were unable to react in time. Not good. Blood Slayer shouted in a low voice. He waved his hands again and again. Then, several cold lights swept out and bombarded the ice pillars. Ka. Venerable Blood Slayer was a veteran third-grade human sovereign. He was extremely powerful. A mere icicle was naturally not a problem for him. Someone must be causing trouble in the hub hall in the outer region. Let's head over there as well. Venerable Blood Slayer's expression was very ugly. He immediately thought of the hub hall. Since Qin Xiong knew about the hub hall, he definitely knew about it. The same thing happened to Zhu Zhen and the evil dragon Venerable. Without a doubt, both of them had chosen to head to the hub hall. At this time, in the hub hall of the outer region, Ning Yu had already stopped and fell into deep thoughts. Although the hub hall in the outer region could control the mechanisms and array formations in the outer region, the mechanisms and array formations in the outer region were all low-grade array formations. These arrays and mechanisms could only kill some martial artists with low cultivation at most. As for powerful martial artists like Yin Hua, Zhu Zhen, and Shui Wuming, they were completely useless. Furthermore, they were already on their guard. If they continued to waste time here, it wouldn't be worth it. Therefore, Ning Yu had decided to head to the inner region. Without hesitation, Ning Yu charged out of the hall. Swish. Swish. However, the moment Ning Yu left the hall, his face drastically changed. Without any time to think, Ning Yu immediately took out the red demon sword and slashed in the air. Whoosh. In the next moment, two bloody heads fell to the ground. The corpses were still trembling. Blood bats. Looking at the corpses on the ground, Ning Yu's face instantly turned gloomy. Blood bats were 7th-grade demonic beasts. Their strength was equivalent to a manifestation realm martial artist. Some of the more powerful blood bats could even fight against a half-step supremacy. The two blood-colored bats that Ning Yu had killed were not very powerful, but they were equivalent to human martial artists at the later stage of the creation realm. Ning Yu, that illusory figure, just said something about the hunt starting. Are we going to be hunted by these blood bats? The Dark Emperor seemed to have thought of something and opened his mouth. I can't rule out that possibility. Ning Yu's face was solemn. He was not afraid of one or two blood bats. The only thing he was afraid of was a large number of blood bats swarming over. If a group of blood bats came over, how could he defend himself? Whoosh. Speak of the devil. As soon as this thought appeared in Ning Yu's mind, it came true. The void in the distance suddenly split open, and a swarm of blood-colored bats covered the sky and covered the earth. Dark Emperor, Lightning Wolf King, you two are in charge of protecting Lu Wei. The rest of you, follow me to kill the enemies. Ning Yu hurriedly instructed before pulling out the Red Fiend sword and charging out. Other than Ning Yu, the gold-devouring demon lion and the rest did not dare to delay and charged out hurriedly. Rumble. Ning Yu slashed out with his sword and more than 10 blood bats were split in half. This caused the swarm of blood bats behind him to be wary. Roar. The gold-devouring demon lion roared into the sky and a huge shockwave killed more than 10 blood bats. Ning Yu and the gold-devouring demon lion's attacks had a certain effect. The blood-colored bat, which was not afraid of death, actually retreated for a moment. As the blood bats retreated, before Ning Yu could heave a sigh of relief, he realized that a huge blood bat had appeared behind the blood bats. Blood Bat King. Looking at the sudden appearance of the huge blood bat, Ning Yu's heart sank to the bottom. The Blood Bat King was different from the ordinary blood bats. The ordinary blood bats were rank 7 demonic beasts, but the Blood Bat King was a rank 8 demonic beast. Moreover, it had reached the terrifying mid-stage rank 8 demonic beast. The weakest mid-stage rank 8 demonic beast was equivalent to a rank 4 human supreme among humans. With the combat power of Ningyu and the rest, how could they fight against the Bloodbat with the strength of a rank 4 human supreme? Delicious humans, you are lucky to have met me. The Bloodbat King opened its bloody mouth and said coldly, I never spit out the bones when I eat people. If you meet the Bone Demon, you will be in for a hard time. Bloodbat King, there might be some misunderstanding between us. Can we sit down and talk? Ningyu's eyes darted around, trying to think of a countermeasure. Fighting head-on was definitely out of the question. The only way was to outsmart them. Humans are cunning. I have nothing to talk about with you. Chapter 934. Did someone say the same thing to you? Ningyu's heart skipped a beat when he heard the blood-colored Bat King's words. Since the blood-colored Bat King had said that, it meant that someone must have entered the Beast King's palace not long ago. Furthermore, the warrior who entered the Beast King's palace had successfully deceived the blood-colored Bat King and escaped the hunt. Therefore, the blood-colored Bat King was on high alert and did not give Ningyu and the rest any chance. I made a deal with Jiu Mo. We'll see which side kills the most warriors within an hour. The blood-colored Bat King's eyes shone with a frightening glint as he bellowed. Go. Tear them apart. Whoosh. As the blood-colored Bat King bellowed, the blood-colored bats behind him flapped their wings and rushed out. The area that Ningyu and the rest were in was not very spacious. Now that the blood-colored bats swarmed out, it seemed a little crowded. Ningyu gripped the red fiend sword and took a step forward. Together with the metal-devouring demon lion, they formed the first line of defense. It was also the sturdiest line of defense. Puff, 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 puff. Ningyu waved the red fiend sword continuously. With every slash, a blood-colored bat would be killed. The metal-devouring demon lion was not at a disadvantage at all. Every time he attacked, he killed many blood-colored bats. A bunch of trash. Get out of my way. The blood-colored Bat King was clearly dissatisfied with the blood-colored bats' attacks. He flapped his wings and a strong gust of wind blew the blood-colored bats to the other side. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Following that, the blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth and several cold flashes flew out. These cold flashes were blood-red in color and produced a strong whooshing sound. Swoosh. Looking at the incoming blood-colored cold flashes, Ningyu exerted force with his right leg and kicked the corpse of a blood-colored bat away. Whoosh. The blood-colored cold flashes and blood-colored bats collided. The result was shocking. After the whooshing sound, the blood-colored bats dissipated from the world. Even though Ningyu was prepared for this outcome, he felt his scalp tingle. Corrosive. The blood-colored cold light that the blood-colored Bat King spat out was extremely corrosive. One had to know that these blood-colored bats were all 7th-rank demonic beasts. Their bodies were extremely hard. Even such a tough body was instantly corroded. It was enough to show how corrosive the blood-colored cold light was. Gold-devouring demon lion, follow me. At this critical moment, Ningyu's expression was extremely grave. With a flick of his wrist, all the essence in his sea of consciousness surged out, forming a protective essence barrier in front of him. Seeing this, the metal-devouring demon lion hurriedly released the energy in its body into the Yuan Qi light shield. Behind him, the Dark Emperor, the Lightning Wolf King, the Li Fire Divine Eagle, and even Qin Xiong and Lu Wei released their essence and injected it into the essence protection barrier. Kai Kai. Several blood-red cold lights collided with the Yuan Qi barrier, producing a sizzling sound. Seeing that his blood-colored cold light was blocked, the blood-colored Bat King raised his eyebrows and laughed sinisterly. Not bad, you guys have some skills, but, at this point, the blood-colored Bat King paused for a moment before continuing. You guys met me today. Therefore, you are destined to die without a burial place. With that, the blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth again and spat out several blood-colored cold lights in front of everyone's horrified gazes. I'm going to kill you. Looking at the blood-colored cold lights that flew out of the blood-colored Bat King's mouth, Ningyu could not help but curse. Ningyu knew his limits. The Yuan Qi light shield formed by him, the metal-devouring demon lion, and the others could only withstand the first round of blood-colored cold lights at most. If there was a second round of blood-colored cold lights, they would definitely be finished. Let's fight. At this moment, Ningyu knew that he could not hold back at all. Otherwise, he would really die without a burial place. Metal devouring demon lion, you take charge of the Yuan Qi light shield. I'll go deal with the blood-colored Bat King. With a low roar, Ningyu stomped on the ground and his body shot out. Seeing Ningyu rush out, the metal-devouring demon lion was a little stunned. The blood-colored Bat King was a mid-8th rank demonic beast. Its strength was equivalent to a 4th-grade human supreme martial artist. And you're only in the late manifestation realm. The metal-devouring demon lion would never believe that a late manifestation realm warrior could fight a 4th-grade human supreme martial artist demonic beast. What a waste. If I had known earlier, I would not have entered the Beast King Palace with Ningyu. At this moment, the metal-devouring demon lion was very upset, but there was nothing he could do. He had come with Ningyu to obtain the innate spirit dew and the 6th-grade human supreme martial artist demonic beast core from Ningyu. Now, it was very likely that he would end up losing the bait. Good timing. After the blood-colored cold light was shot out, the Bat King ignored it. Instead, it twisted its neck and took a step forward to fight with Ningyu. Fart. Almost at the moment of contact, Ningyu could not withstand the heavy blow and was forced to retreat dozens of feet before he could stabilize himself. I'm going to eat you alive. In the next moment, the blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth and a terrifying suction force came from its mouth, trying to swallow Ningyu alive. Facing the blood-colored Bat King's bloody mouth, Ningyu did not retreat. Instead, he dashed out. Ningyu, what are you doing? Don't do anything stupid. Behind the metal-devouring demon lion, the Dark Emperor and the rest exclaimed when they saw Ningyu's actions. Red Demon, it's all up to you now. Ningyu took a deep breath. Just as he was about to reach the blood-colored Bat King, he suddenly changed his direction. However, when Ningyu changed his direction, he suddenly threw the red demon sword. Whoosh! The blood-colored Bat King did not take the red demon sword seriously. It flapped its wings and a strong gust of wind flew out. The strong gust of wind did not stop the red demon sword. In the blink of an eye, the red demon sword arrived before the blood-colored Bat King and swiftly slashed at its bloody mouth. The red demon sword was a sovereign flying sword. One could imagine that the blood-colored Bat King's lips would definitely be cut off if it was struck. I've underestimated you. However, the blood-colored Bat King was a mid-stage level 8 demon beast after all. It still had a sharp eye. Sensing the terrifying essence energy fluctuations emanating from the red demon sword, the blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth and spat out another blood-colored cold gleam. Ding, ding, ding. The blood-colored cold gleam clashed with the red demon sword. Swoosh. After that move, the red demon sword tore through the void and flew into Ningyu's hand. Seems like I have to expose my spatial laws. Wielding the red demon sword, Ningyu's eyes darkened. The situation was clear now. Unless he used spatial laws, there was no way to break out of today's situation. Boom. Boom. However, just as Ningyu was about to activate the spatial laws in his sea of consciousness, something strange happened. A crack suddenly appeared in the space behind the blood-colored bats. After that, several figures appeared from the crack. Damn it! The figures cursed the moment they appeared. Chapter 935. Join forces, it's you. Ningyu recognized all of these figures that suddenly appeared. They were none other than the people from the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion, Zhu Zhen, Yun Mu, and Supremacy Marshal. At this moment, the three of them were in a slightly sorry state. Even Zhu Zhen's clothes were somewhat tattered. Interesting, it's getting more and more interesting. The blood-colored Bat King opened its mouth wide and swallowed the blood-colored cold light it had just spat out into its stomach. It laughed sinisterly and said, 3 more delicious humans have come. Go. As the blood-colored Bat King's voice rang out, many blood-colored bats swarmed towards Zhu Zhen and the others. Die. Although Zhu Zhen's clothes were damaged, his fighting strength did not decrease at all. He could kill many of these blood-colored bats that were at the late stage of the creation realm and half a step to the supremacy realm with a single move. Coupled with Yun Mu and the talisman Martial Supremacy's help, the area was soon filled with blood-colored bats. Stop. Seeing that more and more bats were dying, the blood-colored Bat King said in a deep voice. Hooah! The blood-colored bats were well trained, so they immediately stopped attacking upon hearing the sound. Good, very good. This will be more fun, the Bat King said gloomily. Buzz. Right at this moment, space shook once more. Then, another group of people appeared beside Zhu Zhan and the others. Yin Hua. It was a bit far-fetched to say that they were the same group of people. Because there were only two people in this group. One of them was Yin Hua, while the other was the venerable spirit cauldron of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Without a doubt, the rest of the warriors of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple had all perished in the outer region of the Beast King's palace. Catcher. Not long after Yin Hua and the others appeared, a few people from the Blood God Palace also appeared in this area. Compared to the people of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, there were a few more people left in the Blood God Temple. But that was all. Other than Shui Wuming and the evil dragon Venerable, the Blood God Palace only had two martial artists at the peak of the creation realm who had survived. At this point, the Blood God Palace, the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, and Ningyu's group were all gathered here. Just like how they dealt with the six-winged sky-soaring serpent in the past, no single force was a match for the six-winged sky-soaring serpent. However, if several forces joined forces, they would be able to contend against the six-winged sky-soaring serpent. Therefore, the Scarlet Bat King's expression became increasingly unsightly as more and more martial artists appeared. In the end, the blood-colored Bat King even rose from the ground and rushed out. Roar! The blood-colored Bat King was very smart. If it continued to wait, who knew what unforeseen events would happen? He wanted to take advantage of the fact that he could still suppress all the martial artists present and kill them all. Otherwise, even if he was very powerful, he wouldn't be able to handle a few more forces. Rumble. However, as soon as the blood-colored Bat King charged out, its expression changed drastically, and it hurriedly retreated. This was because the blood-colored Bat King discovered that the space in front of it had suddenly cracked open. Then, an extremely terrifying attack had blasted out from the spatial crack. An earth-shattering explosion resounded in the area. Then, a few wretched figures flew out from the spatial crack. Ha ha ha, trash is indeed trash. You actually think that you can contend against me just because your cultivation has reached grade 3 human supreme? Me. Humans are indeed an amazing species. As soon as the figures were blasted out, a loud laughter came from the spatial crack. Following closely behind the laughter was an extremely thin and weak figure. Bone Demon. Ningyu and the others might not recognize this thin and weak martial artist, but the blood-colored Bat King was very familiar with him. In the outer area of the Beast King Palace, there were a total of 2 hunters. One was him, and the other was Bone Demon. Bone Demon's cultivation was the same as his, grade 4 human supreme. However, there was still a huge difference between him and Bone Demon. He had a large number of blood-colored bats following him, while Bone Demon had always acted alone. TSK, blood-colored Bat King, how many martial artists have you killed? As soon as Bone Demon appeared, he let out a weird laugh at the blood-colored Bat King and said sinisterly, I've killed a total of 10 martial artists. Among them, 2 were half-step supreme, and the rest were manifestation realm martial artists. The blood-colored Bat King snorted coldly. You've come just in time. I've already surrounded these people, and it's time for them to die. As he spoke, the blood-colored Bat King was about to attack. Hold on. Since Bone Demon was here, he definitely wouldn't let the blood-colored Bat King enjoy the food alone. Bone Demon waved his hand, indicating that the blood-colored Bat King didn't have to be anxious. What do you want? The blood-colored Bat King said coldly. I don't want anything. Bone Demon shrugged, then changed the topic. However, you should understand that those who witness this should have a share. So, you have to give me half of these martial artists. Give your ass. The blood-colored Bat King said angrily, if you're so capable, go hunt by yourself. Why fight with me for food? Bat King, you can't go back on your words. I gave you more than a dozen first-grade sovereign martial artists from the previous batch that entered the Beast King Palace. Now that I'm asking you to give me a few people, why are you stuttering? Bone Demon's face instantly turned cold. It would have been better if Bone Demon hadn't mentioned the previous batch of people that entered the Beast King Palace. The moment he mentioned it, the blood-colored Bat King's face turned ugly. There were indeed many people from the previous batch that entered the Beast King Palace. When Bone Demon was in danger, it was him who helped him deal with more than a dozen first-grade sovereign martial artists. Otherwise, Bone Demon would definitely have died without a burial place. After all, in the Beast King Palace, the hunter and the hunted had a hostile relationship. Ningyu, you're well aware of the current situation. Whether we can survive will depend on whether we can let bygones be bygones. While Bone Demon and the blood-colored Bat King were entangled, Venerable Spirit Cauldron's soul force surged and transmitted his voice to Ningyu. Ningyu, why don't we join forces? In addition to Venerable Spirit Cauldron, Venerable Evil Dragon and Venerable Talisman Marshal also had solemn expressions as they transmitted their voices to Ningyu. As long as one wasn't a fool, they would be well aware of the current situation. If they joined forces, there would still be a chance of survival. If they didn't, only death awaited them. Ningyu didn't directly answer Venerable Spirit Cauldron's words. Instead, he glanced at Venerable Blood Destruction and Shamo, who were blasted out of the void by Bone Demon. His meaning was self-evident. Venerable Blood Destruction and Shamo had suffered heavy injuries and their combat power was less than 1/10 of their peak. In other words, they were already crippled. Relying on Ningyu's side alone, the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, Blood God Palace, and Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion was also impossible to contend against the blood-colored Bat King and the others. Seeing Ningyu's actions, the disappointment on the faces of Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others gradually deepened. It was so much so that Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others looked down on Ningyu from the bottom of their hearts. Only by daring to fight and fight could they have a chance of survival. Taking a gamble, a bicycle could turn into a motorcycle. You guys help me block Bone Demon and the blood-colored Bat King. At least buy me 10 minutes of time. Chapter 936. Shocking what? Hearing this, the eyes of the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others widened, and their faces turned ugly. If it weren't for the Scarlet Bat King and Bone Demon, they would have cursed out loud. If they used all their trump cards, they could naturally resist Bone Demon and the Scarlet Bat King for 10 minutes. However, they did not believe in Ningyu. They did not believe that Ningyu could kill Bone Demon and the Scarlet Bat King in 10 minutes. After all, Ningyu's cultivation was only at the advanced stage of creation. No matter how powerful he was, how powerful could he be? Therefore, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others all revealed disdainful looks. You have no choice. Ningyu knew that the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others did not believe him, but even if they did not believe him, Ningyu had to say so. Because this was their only chance to survive. Use the law of space. If there was only the Scarlet Bat King, Ningyu would not need the help of the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others at all. He could deal with the Scarlet Bat King by himself. However, the appearance of Bone Demon completely disrupted Ningyu's rhythm. In the current situation, only a surprise attack could achieve a miraculous effect. Deal. While the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others were still hesitating, Bone Demon and the Scarlet Bat King had reached some kind of agreement and completely joined forces. The alliance of Bone Demon and the Scarlet Bat King sped up the Venerable Spirit Cauldron's consideration. After thinking for a while, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others decided to agree to Ningyu's request. She didn't believe that Ningyu couldn't do anything about it. As long as Ningyu did not want to make a move, there was nothing they could do. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After thinking about it, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the others flashed through the swarm of scarlet bats and landed in front of Ningyu. Gold Devouring Lion, Fire Divine Condor, both of you are Grade 2 Human Supremes. Help them deal with the Scarlet Bat King and Bone Demon. Ningyu went directly to the back, sat cross-legged, and transmitted his voice to the Gold Devouring Lion and Fire Divine Condor. Screech. The Li Fire Divine Condor had already sworn a heavenly Tao oath to Ningyu that he must obey Ningyu's arrangements. The Metal Devouring Demon Lion was different. Right now, he was retreating a little. But the thought of retreating only lasted for a second. The metal-devouring demon lion tossed it to the back of its mind. At most, he would just die. What was there to be afraid of? Oh my, you guys still want to resist? Seeing the actions of Ning Yu and the others, the blood-colored Bat King raised his brows and laughed sinisterly. With just you shrimp soldiers and crab generals. Crimson Bat King, don't get too full of yourself. With the few of us joining forces, we can even contend against a six-winged sky-soaring python, let alone you guys. Venerable Spirit Cauldron stepped forward and said coldly. Six-winged sky-soaring python? Hearing this, the blood-colored Bat King's brows became slightly gloomy. The six-winged sky-flying python was the same as them, a mid-stage Tier 8 demonic beast. But the six-winged sky-flying python's strength was much higher than theirs. Suddenly, the blood-colored Bat King seemed to have thought of something and sneered. The six-winged sky-flying python is restricted by the python trapping array and can only unleash 50% of its peak strength. It's nothing much that you guys can contend against it. Crimson Bat King, why are you talking nonsense with them? According to our previous agreement, let's see who kills them first. Hearing the argument between the blood-colored Bat King and the Venerable Spirit Cauldron, the Bone Demon curled his lips in disdain and charged towards the Venerable Spirit Cauldron. According to the agreement, the Bone Demon could deal with the cultivators of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple and the Blood God Palace. As for the blood-colored Bat King, it could only deal with the Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion and Ning Yu. Attack! Looking at the Bone Demon that was constantly approaching them, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the Venerable Bloodslayer did not dare to delay and immediately charged out to fight the Bone Demon. Yin Hua and Xue Wuming's fighting strength was slightly lower, so they could only support from the side. Facts had proven that without using their trump cards, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and Blood Destruction Venerable, two third-grade Sovereign Realm Sovereigns, couldn't even withstand a single blow. The Bone Demon blasted out two moves in a row, hitting their chests respectively. The huge force caused them to retreat several feet and fall into the swarm of blood-colored bats. Damn it! Cursing inwardly, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the Venerable Bloodslayer charged out again. But this time, they had learned their lesson. Trump cards. Each of them used their trump cards. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron took out a light blue flying sword. A king rank supreme grade flying sword. The flying sword that the Venerable Spirit Cauldron took out was called the Blue Light Sword and had reached the king rank supreme grade. In a sense, the power of the Blue Light Sword had already surpassed the king rank and reached the half-step emperor rank. Seeing that the Venerable Spirit Cauldron took out the half-step emperor rank flying sword, the Venerable Bloodslayer opened his mouth and spat out a black sphere. Blood Explosion Ball. The Venerable Bloodslayer was a third-grade human supreme-grade cultivator of the Blood God Palace. He carried the treasure of the Blood God Palace with him, the Blood Explosion Ball. According to legend, the Blood Explosion Ball was personally developed by the current Palace Master of the Blood God Palace and was very powerful. The Blood Explosion Ball was divided into 3 grades, lower grade, middle grade, and upper grade. The inferior grade Blood Explosion Ball was not very powerful and could only kill Creation Realm martial artists. The middle grade Blood Explosion Ball could kill any cultivator below the second grade human supreme grade. As for the upper grade Blood Explosion Ball, as long as it was released when the 4th grade human supreme grade wasn't paying attention, it could even kill a 4th grade human supreme grade. The Blood Explosion Ball that the Venerable Bloodslayer took out was of the middle grade. Swish! With a flick of his wrist, the Venerable Bloodslayer threw out the Blood Explosion Ball. Explode! As the Venerable Bloodslayer growled, the Blood Explosion Ball suddenly exploded when it was close to the Bone Demon. Rumble! The aftermath of the explosion spread in all directions. Some of the blood-colored bats with low cultivation couldn't withstand it and were instantly turned into nothingness. After one move, the Venerable Bloodslayer and the Venerable Spirit Cauldron rushed out and fought with the Bone Demon again. Although the power of the Blood Explosion Ball made the Bone Demon afraid, the Venerable Bloodslayer and the Venerable Spirit Cauldron were still at a disadvantage. Bang! While they were fighting, on the other side, the Bloodbat Monarch also made a move. Compared to the Venerable Bloodslayer and the Venerable Spirit Cauldron, the Venerable Talisman Marshal and the others were under much more pressure. As soon as they exchanged blows, The flaming divine eagle was hit by the bloodbat monarch and was forced to retreat dozens of feet. Bang! 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 Following that, the metal-devouring demon lion, Yunmu, and even Yunmu were defeated. The battle had only lasted for 2 minutes, and the 9-cauldron divine pavilion and Ning Yu had lost their generals one after another. Only the venerable talisman marshal was struggling to hold on. 8 minutes. There were still 8 minutes left. With the venerable talisman marshal's strength, how could he last? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The bloodbat monarch was furious that it was stopped by an ant. With a cold snort, it rushed out quickly. Embryonic domain. Now that things had come to this, the venerable talisman marshal had nothing to hide. She shouted in a low voice. Immediately, a terrifying pressure spread out with her as the center. Domain. Chapter 937. Belonging domain. Cultivators who had reached the supremacy realm were no strangers to this. In fact, they were very familiar with each other. This was because domain was a realm that all Supreme Being realm martial artists yearned for even in their dreams. A first-grade human supreme martial artist with a domain could even fight against a third-grade human supreme martial artist. It's actually a domain. At that moment, the blood-red Bat King's expression became solemn. Even he didn't dare to say that he could kill a peak grade 1 human sovereign with a domain. If a peak grade 1 human sovereign with a domain wanted to escape, he wouldn't be able to stop him. Fortunately, I managed to deceive the Scarlet Bat King. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do. Upon seeing everyone's reaction, especially the blood-red Bat Monarch's gloomy expression, Supremacy Marshal took a deep breath, and the worry in his heart eased a little. However, the Talisman Marshal Supremacy did not let her guard down. After all, she knew that her embryonic domain could only deceive the Scarlet Bat King for a few minutes at most. A few minutes later, the Bat King would definitely figure out that she was using the embryonic domain and not the real one. At that time, the real battle would begin. Glancing back at Ning Yu, Talisman Supremacy slowly closed his eyes and quietly waited for the battle to begin. As for Zhu Zhan and the others, they were seizing the time to recuperate. It was such a good opportunity to recuperate. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't get another one. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. On the other side, the battle between Bone Devil and Venerable Spirit Cauldron also stopped. In fact, Bone was the same as the blood-colored Bat Monarch. He did not know how terrifying the Talisman Supremacy's domain was. Seeing that the Bat Monarch had stopped attacking, he also stopped attacking. Venerable Spirit Cauldron and Venerable Blood Extermination were very excited when the Bone Devil stopped attacking. They were no match for the Bone Demon. Even if they used their trump cards, there was no way they could contend with the Bone Demon. Now that the Bone Devil had stopped attacking, they, like Zhu Zhan and the others, seized the fleeting opportunity to recuperate. Get in. At the very back of the area, Ning Yu was still sitting cross-legged on the ground. On the surface, Ning Yu's expression was devoid of joy or sorrow, as if he was in a meditative state. However, as the person involved, Ning Yu knew that the danger he was facing was not inferior to the Talisman Martial Supremacy and the others. In his sea of consciousness, Ning Yu divided his mind into two. Part of it was used to control the law of space, while the other part was used to control soul force. Multitasking. Right now, Ning Yu was indeed multitasking. Moreover, Ning Yu's ability to multitask was rather special. He tried his best to compress his soul force into the spatial laws. One had to know that the law of space was a very terrifying thing. Compressing soul force into the law of space? The slightest bit of carelessness would cause the space laws to explode and his soul force to shatter. Fortunately, Ning Yu was a heavenly supreme in his previous life. Otherwise, he would have been long dead. Pu. Suddenly, the law of space struggled in Ning Yu's sea of knowledge. Almost in an instant, it squeezed out the soul force that had just entered his body. This repelling effect made Ning Yu's throat taste sweet. The fishy sweetness that came from his throat made Ning Yu's body sway a little. Ning Yu knew that he must not have any reaction at this time. Otherwise, it would be for naught. Swallowing the fishy sweetness in his throat, Ning Yu tried once more. Puff, puff, puff. On the 10th attempt, Ningyu finally squeezed his soul force into the law of space. F***CK. Right at this moment, the blood-colored Bat King finally reacted. What you have is an embryonic domain, not a real domain. The blood-colored Bat King's expression was very ugly, feeling that it was cheated. The difference between an embryonic domain and a domain was still very huge. A martial artist with a domain could hang up and beat up a martial artist with an embryonic domain of the same rank. Using 1 to fight 10 to describe it was not an exaggeration. Embryonic domain? The bone demon seemed to have not reacted yet. His brows were tightly furrowed as he released his perception, carefully probing the talisman martial supremacy. Spirit cauldron supremacy, blood destruction supremacy, why aren't you guys making a move? Sensing the bone demon's perception flying towards him, the talisman martial supremacy instantly stood up and yelled. Swish! Swish! Upon hearing this, the spirit cauldron supremacy and the blood destruction supremacy did not dare to delay and immediately took action. Among them, the blood destruction supremacy did not hold back anymore. He took out the superior grade blood explosion ball and threw it at the bone demon. Courting death. Originally, the bone demon wanted to probe the talisman martial supremacy. Now that the blood destruction supremacy had thrown the blood explosion ball at him, he was instantly enraged. He gave up on probing the talisman martial supremacy and turned to fight with the blood destruction supremacy. The bone demon already knew the power of the blood explosion ball. Therefore, before the blood explosion ball reached him, he tore the void and disappeared. Oh no! The blood destruction supremacy did not expect the bone demon to be so smart. He hurriedly formed a seal with both hands and controlled the blood explosion ball to return to his side. Ha ha ha, the blood explosion ball is not bad. I'll accept it. However, just when the blood destruction supremacy wanted to retrieve the blood explosion ball, he realized that he had lost contact with it. The bone demon suddenly appeared beside the blood explosion ball and took out a blood-red cloth bag. In front of the blood destruction supremacy, he placed the blood explosion ball into the cloth bag. Bang! Just when the bone demon kept the blood explosion ball, the Crimson Bat King seized the opportunity and struck the talisman martial supremacy's chest, sending him flying to the corner. Fart! After defeating the talisman martial supremacy with a single move, the Crimson Bat King did not hold back. Instead, he struck again and struck Yunmu and Zhu Zhan with the same move. Yunmu and Zhu Zhan were only first-grade human supremacies. Naturally, their resistance was not as strong as the talisman martial supremacy. A mouthful of blood spurted out and Yunmu and Zhu Zhan's faces instantly turned pale. Metal-devouring demon lion, fire divine condor, if you're willing to submit to me and become my followers, I can consider letting you off. The Crimson Bat King did not want to kill the metal-devouring demon lion and fire divine condor, who were both second-grade human supremacies. After all, they might encounter all sorts of people in the outer region of the Beast King Palace. There were also many powerful martialists. More helpers meant more options, right? Crimson Bat King. Just at this moment, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes and stood up from the ground, walking forward step by step. After a while, Ningyu arrived before the Crimson Bat King. You want the metal-devouring demon lion and fire divine condor to submit to you? Ningyu's face was emotionless as he spoke. Ningyu's actions caused the Crimson Bat King to frown his brows. He vaguely felt that something was amiss. However, with the Crimson Bat King's cultivation, how could he be intimidated by Ningyu? Stop acting mysterious. I can crush a martialist like you with one hand, the Crimson Bat King said coldly. I know that you can crush me with one hand. Chapter 938. All of them. Who do you think you are to discuss the ownership of the Li Fire Divine Eagle and the metal-devouring demon lion with me? No one knew what the blood-red Bat King was thinking. He did not attack Ningyu immediately. Instead, he said in a deep voice, you are the same as me. We are not the creators of the rules and can only follow the rules of the Beast King Palace. Ningyu said, you think you are a hunter in the outer area of the Beast King Palace and treat me as your prey. Little do you know that we also treat you as our prey. Ha ha ha. Hearing that, The Scarlet Bat Monarch laughed wildly and said coldly, I am a mid-stage rank 8 demon beast. I can kill a warrior like you with one hand. Aren't you afraid of getting your tongue bitten by the wind? Ningyu curled his lips and said, since you said that you're very strong, then I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a chance to kill me. As he spoke, Ningyu took another step forward and extended his left and right hands. He said to the blood-colored Bat King and Bone Demon beside him, since you guys are only mid-stage rank 8 demonic beasts, your strength is limited. Therefore, I'll let you two attack together. What? Hearing Ningyu's extremely arrogant words, apart from the Scarlet Bat Monarch and Bone Demon, even the Venerable of Spirit Cauldron and the rest opened their mouths wide in disbelief. Gulp. Everyone swallowed their saliva and looked at Ningyu as though he was a fool. The expressions on their faces were very interesting. Your arrogance did not hit the nail on the head. To be precise, the point of force was not right. It was a little crooked. Get close to me later. I will find a way to tear the void and leave this place. The Venerable of Spirit Cauldron whispered to Yin Hua beside him. Ningyu had lost his mind. He could not go crazy with Ningyu. He could take advantage of the chaos to leave while Ningyu was fighting with the Scarlet Bat Monarch and the rest. Venerable Blood Destruction, Venerable Talisman Marshal, Zhu Zhan, and the rest had the same thought as the Venerable of Spirit Cauldron. Right now, the only ones who believed in Ningyu were Lu Wei and the Dark Emperor. Brat, I thought I was already very arrogant. I didn't expect you to be even more arrogant than me. Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. The blood-red Bat King berated with a gloomy expression. That's right. Don't forget, you have to attack together with Bone Devil. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that nothing will happen. Ningyu said calmly as he looked at the enraged Bat King. Bone Demon, attack with me. The Blood Bat King was finally at the end of his patience, and he let out an explosive roar before he flapped his wings and shot out explosively. I also want to see what's so special about this kid. In the beginning, the Bone Devil did not intend to make a move. After all, in his opinion, the Scarlet Bat Monarch was enough to kill Ningyu. However, the Bone Demon could not stand Ningyu's arrogance. In the end, he chose to attack together with the Scarlet Bat King. Whoosh, whoosh. The two figures were extremely fast, arriving beside Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Bang! Stab! The Bone Devil's right hand blasted out, hitting Ningyu's chest without any deviation. As for the Scarlet Bat King, it flapped its wings and a strong gust of wind streaked across Ningyu's chest. Fart! Two consecutive powerful attacks caused Ningyu to spit out a mouthful of fresh blood as his face turned pale. Can't even withstand a single blow. The Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil curled their lips in disdain when they saw Ningyu's tragic state. Swoosh! Right at this moment, Ningyu flicked his wrist and threw the storage ring at the Dark Emperor. Dark Emperor, act according to my instructions later. If necessary, all of you enter the storage ring. Ningyu sent a voice transmission to the Dark Emperor. The Dark Emperor's heart skipped a beat, vaguely feeling that something might happen. Be prepared. At the side, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable, the Blood Destruction Venerable and even the Evil Dragon Venerable who was severely injured on the ground secretly made up their minds. As long as Ningyu and the Scarlet Bat King fought again, they would tear the void and leave. There was only one chance. If they missed it, they would regret it for the rest of their lives. Scarlet Bat King, Bone Devil, is that all you've got? Ningyu wiped the blood at the corner of his mouth and approached the Scarlet Bat King step by step. Seeing Ningyu's actions, the blood-colored Bat King and Bone Demon revealed a trace of shock in their eyes. To be honest, although the Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil did not use their full strength in that attack earlier on, they used 50% of their strength. The reason why they did not use their full strength was because they were guarding against any schemes that Ningyu might have. Even so, their attack with 50% of their strength should have killed Ningyu. Go all out. The Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil felt very embarrassed that the two mid-stage 8th stage demonic beasts could not kill a late-stage manifestation realm human in one move. Therefore, they decided to go all out. Everyone used 100% of their strength. Let's go. As soon as the Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil launched their attacks, The spirit cauldron venerable and the others did not hesitate to burn their blood essence to tear the void and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Scarlet Bat, go stop them. The Scarlet Bat King had already expected that the spirit cauldron venerable and the others would find a way to escape. He ordered while attacking Ningyu. Whoosh! The numerous scarlet bats also tore the void and chased after them. As long as the scarlet bats followed them, the Scarlet Bat King was not afraid that he would not be able to find the spirit cauldron venerable and the others. Open your mind. The Dark Emperor was very smart. He immediately shouted when he saw the spirit cauldron venerable and the others taking action. Swoosh! Swoosh! As soon as the Dark Emperor's voice fell, several beams of light rushed out of the storage ring and shone on Lu Wei, sucking Lu Wei and Furball, who was in Lu Wei's arms, into the storage ring. Damn it! Open your minds if you don't want to die. The Dark Emperor cursed when he saw the Lightning Wolf King and the others hesitating. Whoosh! 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 After being scolded by the Dark Emperor, the Lightning Wolf King and the others seemed to have an epiphany. They immediately opened their minds and were sucked into the storage ring by the primordial chi light beam. When everything was ready, the Dark Sovereign took a deep breath, and her figure flashed. In the blink of an eye, she entered the storage ring and disappeared. Ding! A crisp sound rang out as the storage ring fell to the ground. A Dharma treasure that can store people? The Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil were a little stunned when they saw the sudden defense. Hee, it's not good to be distracted now. However, just when the Scarlet Bat King and the others were slightly stunned, Ningyu smiled and a purple ball of light suddenly appeared in his sea of consciousness. Kai! The purple ball of light was about the size of a fist and contained violent primordial chi waves. Apart from the primordial chi waves, there was also a terrifying soul power surrounding the ball of light. What's that? Looking at the purple ball of light that was speeding toward them, the Scarlet Bat King and the Bone Devil looked at each other and saw some doubt in each other's eyes. They were only mid-stage 8th order demonic beasts, so it was understandable that they did not know the law of space. Chapter 939. The Might of the Laws. Ningyu ignored the shock of the Blood-Red Bat King and Bone Demon. His figure flashed and directly flew to the side of the storage ring. Then, under the shocked gazes of the Blood-Red Bat King and Bone Demon, Ningyu took off the King-rank mid-grade phantom armor and leaped into the storage ring. Bang! Ningyu had already arranged everything. As soon as he entered the storage ring, the phantom armor covered the storage ring. I'll swallow you. The Blood-Red Bat King felt deceived by Ningyu. He opened his mouth and a terrifying devouring power gushed out from his mouth, swallowing the purple ball of light in an instant. Bat King, I'll go put away the storage ring and armor first. Seeing the Blood-Red Bat King swallow the purple ball of light, Bone Demon stomped on the ground and rushed to the storage ring at an astonishing speed. Both the Blood-Red Bat King and Bone Demon knew very well how precious a storage ring that could store a person was. Therefore, Bone Demon wanted to be one step ahead of the Blood-Red Bat King and take the storage ring for himself. Bone Demon, anyone who sees. Oh no! How could the Blood-Red Bat King let Bone Demon snatch the storage ring? Before he had time to refine the purple ball of light, he yelled and chased after it. The Blood-Red Bat King's speed was very fast. He did not even hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed, so he was on par with Bone Demon in the blink of an eye. Humph! The storage ring is mine, and the armor is yours. Bone Demon turned to look at the Blood-Red Bat King beside him and snorted. The storage ring is mine, and the armor is yours. The Blood-Red Bat King did not give in at all and said coldly. Bone Demon and the Blood-Red Bat King did not want to give in and even showed signs of fighting. Stop arguing. Neither of you can get the armor or the storage ring. At this moment, Ningyu's voice sounded in a timely manner. Brat, I know you're in the storage ring. I'll give you one last piece of advice. Come out, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Otherwise. The Blood-Red Bat King said coldly when he heard Ningyu's words. Due to Bone Demon's restriction, the Blood-Red Bat King stopped when he was 10 meters away from the storage ring. You'd better think about how to bury your corpse. Ningyu interrupted the Bat King and said, Now, I can tell you that the ball of violet light you just devoured was the laws of space. Law of space? The Crimson Bat King and Bone Devil were slightly stunned. Then, a look of terror appeared in their eyes. The blood-colored Bat Monarch hurriedly urged the energy in its body to expel the spatial laws. As for Jiu Mo, he forcefully tore apart the void in an attempt to leave. Rumble. However, just as the Bone Demon tore open the void, before it could step in, the blood-colored Bat King's body expanded rapidly. Then, with a boom, it exploded. With the explosion as the center, the scattered flesh fragments continued to spread outwards. Poochie. Bone Demon, who had yet to step into space, was forcefully pushed back several feet. He suddenly vomited a large mouthful of blood. The aura of a peak 4th grade human supreme martial artist instantly dropped to the creation realm. Moreover, it was still descending. Ka. At the same time, within the storage ring, Ningyu and the rest felt the space tremble and their bodies were on the verge of collapsing. Fortunately, the phantom armors were protecting them from the outside. Otherwise, the defense of the storage ring alone would have definitely been broken from the outside. Ningyu and the rest were safe, but the phantom armors had a few cracks. Buzz. Not long after, Ningyu and the rest dashed out of the storage ring and appeared in this area. Hiss. Looking at the scene of devastation, the metal-devouring demon lion and the rest couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Just what kind of powerful attack did Ningyu use to destroy this area to this extent? Most importantly, the blood-colored Bat King had already turned into nothingness, and Bone Devil was lying on the ground like a dead dog, panting heavily. When did Ningyu become so powerful? The metal-devouring demon lion stared at Ningyu, the shock on his face clear for all to see. Not to mention the metal-devouring demon lion and the rest were shocked, even Ningyu felt a trace of disbelief. The law of space was actually so powerful. Swoosh. With a thought, Ningyu hurriedly kept the law of space into his consciousness. It was better not to expose such a precious thing in front of others. Otherwise, it would be a little troublesome if he encountered someone with ill intentions. After keeping the law of space, Ningyu walked towards Bone Devil step by step. Although Bone Devil had suffered heavy injuries, Ningyu did not let his guard down. As the saying went, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. A mid-stage 8th grade demonic beast like Bone Devil might be able to explode with extremely powerful combat power. If he was accidentally injured, it would be a little too much to gain. Ningyu walked very slowly. As he walked, he released his soul perception. He was always on guard against the sudden attack of the Bone Demon. A journey that should have taken 1 to 2 minutes took Ningyu a full 4 to 5 minutes before he arrived. Stopping in front of Bone Devil, Ningyu said coolly, "Don't put on an act. I know you're not dead." Bone Devil naturally was not blasted to death by the aftermath of the blood-colored Bat King's explosion. He snorted coldly and crawled up from the ground with difficulty. The current Bone Devil's brows were full of viciousness. "I admit that I fell for your tricks," Bone Devil said solemnly, "but don't get cocky. I'm already on guard now. It's already impossible for you to sneak an attack on me again. Have you lost your mind?" Hearing Bone Devil's almost crazed words, Ningyu pursed his lips and said, "You're already severely injured at this time. Even if I don't use that thing, I can defeat you head-on. If you know what's good for you, answer a few questions of mine honestly, then swear a heavenly Tao oath to submit to me. Otherwise, I'll let you know why flowers are so red." Humph. Bone Devil snorted coldly and did not directly answer Ningyu's words. Ningyu did not care about Bone Devil's reaction. He sorted out his thoughts and said, "First question. How many hunters are there in the inner region of the Beast King Palace?" Since there were hunters in the outer region, there was an 80% chance that there would be hunters in the inner region as well. Now, the only thing that Ningyu was worried about was whether the hunters in the inner region were the illusory figures that he had encountered in the hub hall. If they were really illusory figures, then it would be over. After all, the strength of the illusory figures was many levels higher than Bone Devil and the blood-colored Bat King. There are 2 hunters in the outer region and 4 hunters in the inner region. Bone Devil's eyeballs moved, and no one knew what he was thinking. What are their levels? Ningyu continued. The inner region has a total of 4 parts: heaven, earth, mystic, and yellow. Each part has a hunter. Bone Devil seemed to instantly become well-behaved and said, "The inner region that is adjacent to the outer region is the yellow level of heaven, earth, mystic, and yellow. The hunter is a three-headed snake that is slightly stronger than me." Three-headed snake. Hearing this, Ningyu's expression turned slightly ugly. The three-headed snake was not just slightly stronger than Bone Devil. It was much stronger. Chapter 940. Kill off in the Shen level area. The hunter is the fierce wind wolf, a rank 8 middle stage demonic beast. Its strength is even stronger than the three-headed snake. Jiyu Mo did not care about Ningyu's shock and continued to introduce himself. In the Earth class zone, the predator is the 8-legged centipede, a mid-stage 8th class demonic beast. It's even stronger than Lai Feng Lang. In the Heaven grade zone, the predator is the Earthshaker, a mid-8th order demonic beast. Its strength is equivalent to a 5th grade human supreme martial artist. The first few sentences of the Bone Demon were still fine. After all, the strength of the three-headed serpent, Gale Wolf, and 8-legged centipede was only equivalent to a 4th grade human sovereign. However, the hunters in the Skyrank area were different. The Earthshaker possessed the strength of a 5th grade human supreme martial artist. Are the hunting rules in the inner area the same as the outer area? Taking a deep breath, Ningyu asked in a deep voice. Now was a good opportunity to figure out all the operating rules of the inner region. Otherwise, if they encountered danger in the inner region, wouldn't they be at a loss as to what to do? It's different. The outer region is a random hunt, while the inner region takes the form of an arena, said the Bone Devil. Arena format. Ningyu frowned. That's right. There are 4 hunters in the inner region. They guard the gates to the heaven, earth, mysterious, and yellow regions respectively. If you want to enter, you'll have to pass their test. Otherwise, you'll be stopped outside. The Bone Demon continued. What kind of tests were there in the past? Ningyu asked. I don't know much about this. After all, I don't have any dealings with them, and it's not convenient for me to ask. Bone Devil shook his head and said, "Oh right." Suddenly, Jiyu Mo seemed to have thought of something. He patted his head and said, "There are no treasures in the outer area of the Beast King's palace, but the inner area is different. Even the yellow level area has many treasures, Dharma treasures, elixirs, everything." Baby. Hearing the Bone Fiend mention treasures, Ningyu frowned slightly and fell into deep thought. Ever since he entered the Beast King Palace, Ningyu discovered that the Beast King Palace was filled with strangeness. Whether it was the Python trapping formation in the Hub Hall, or the Bone Devil and the Bloodbat King, he had encountered them. Of course, there was also the illusory figure he met in the Hub Hall. No matter which one of these people it was, they were all existences that could call the wind and summon the rain in the Sky Demon region. Naturally, what puzzled Ningyu the most was why the Blood God Palace, the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, and the Corpse Sect, who were renowned sects in the Heavenly Demon domain, only sent a 3rd-grade mortal sovereign over. One must know that even a 3rd-grade human sovereign wouldn't be able to move an inch in the outer region of the Beast King's palace, not to mention the inner region. Could it be that these sects had already sent powerful martial artists to enter the inner area of the Beast King Palace, or the core area? Ningyu, be careful. However, just as Ningyu was deep in thought, a loud voice was heard. Not good. Hearing the voice, Ningyu didn't have the time to think and immediately retreated. The reason why Ningyu retreated without observing was because it was the Dark Emperor that had shouted. It was impossible for the Dark Emperor to scare him. As for the situation, Ningyu retreated as he observed. Blood explosion sphere. What he saw had caused Ningyu's face to drastically change. The Bone Devil flicked his wrist and threw the blood explosion sphere towards Ningyu with all his strength. Venerable Blood Destruction's blood explosion sphere. Ningyu had recognized the blood explosion sphere at first glance. Just now, when Venerable Blood Destruction fought with the Bone Devil, he had used the blood explosion sphere. At that time, the Bone Devil had seized the opportunity to keep the blood explosion sphere. Now, the Bone Devil had taken the opportunity when Ningyu wasn't paying attention to throw the blood explosion sphere, intending to kill Ningyu. Everyone, let's attack together. Ningyu wouldn't sit and wait for death. The blood explosion sphere was extremely powerful, and if the Bone Devil detonated it, the consequences would be dire. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Hearing Ningyu's solemn words, the Dark Emperor and the rest had unleashed their perception and surged towards the Bone Devil. At this moment, the Dark Emperor and the rest only had a single thought in their minds, and that was to sever the connection between the Bone Devil and the blood explosion sphere. Only by doing so could they get rid of this huge problem. Otherwise, the consequences would be extremely dangerous. After all, the blood explosion sphere that the Bone Devil had thrown out could threaten a fourth-grade sovereign. Red Demon Sword, follow me to kill the Bone Devil. The Dark Emperor and the rest were responsible for severing the connection between the Bone Devil and the blood explosion sphere. As for Ningyu, he was responsible for killing the Bone Devil. The reason why the Bone Devil had told him so much about the inner regions of the Beast King Palace was to divert his attention. Ningyu was well aware of this, so he didn't hold back at all. He channeled all the Yuan Qi in his Sea of Consciousness into the Red Demon Sword and even used his 7th-grade soul power, all so that he could kill the Bone Devil with a single slash. Oh no! Due to the severe injuries, the Bone Devil only had the battle prowess of a peak manifestation realm. If he couldn't control the explosion of the blood explosion sphere, the Bone Devil would be like a fish on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. He actually severed the connection between me and the blood explosion sphere. The Bone Devil cursed, then forced out a few drops of his blood essence and burned them. Ningyu, we can't hold on much longer. You must kill the Bone Devil within 10 seconds. Just as the Bone Devil burned his blood essence, the Dark Emperor and the rest felt the pressure on them increase. Don't worry, 10 seconds is enough. Ningyu's expression turned extremely cold, then he slashed with the Red Demon Sword in his hand and disappeared instantly. 3 seconds later, Ningyu appeared in front of the Bone Devil. Poof! In the 4th second, Ningyu stabbed out with his sword, accurately piercing the Bone Devil's heart. Ha ha ha, you want to kill me? It's not that easy. The Bone Devil laughed sinisterly as the Red Demon Sword pierced his body. What? The Bone Devil's laughter caused Ningyu's expression to change drastically. The Bone Devil was a mirror image person. His heart was different from a normal person's. A normal person's heart was on the left, but his heart was on the right. Ningyu gritted his teeth, hurriedly pulled back the Red Demon Sword, and slashed at the Bone Devil's right heart. This back and forth took up another 2 seconds. At this point, there were only 3 seconds left. In the 1st second, Ningyu stomped on the ground and rushed out again. In the 2nd second, Ningyu arrived beside the Bone Devil and stabbed at the Bone Devil's heart. At this moment, something strange happened. The Bone Devil suddenly spat out a cold gleam from his mouth, hitting the Red Demon Sword, causing it to deviate from its trajectory. Ha ha ha, blood explosion sphere, give it to me. Seeing Ningyu's expression, the Bone Devil laughed out loud. The more complacent a person was, the more miserable they would be. The Bone Devil was such a person. Since the Red Demon Sword had deviated from its trajectory, Ningyu did not go for the Bone Devil's heart. Instead, he changed his direction and slashed at the Bone Devil's neck. Crack! A crisp sound rang out in the area. Dong! 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 The Bone Devil's head was cut off by the Red Demon Sword and fell to the ground. Chapter 941. Yellow Level Palace. Even at the moment of his death, Jiyu Mo was still feeling smug. After all, he was about to succeed. As long as he could detonate the blood explosion ball before Ningyu stabbed his heart, he would be able to escape during the chaos. However, the ideal was very rich, but the reality was very harsh. Jiyu Mo did not manage to wait for that moment. Instead, it was his wits that allowed Ningyu to behead him with the Red Demon Sword. Who? After killing the Bone Devil at the last moment, Ningyu's nervous heart finally relaxed as he let out a long breath. Ningyu, here's the blood explosion ball. At this moment, the Dark Emperor carefully brought the blood explosion ball to Ningyu and handed it to Ningyu. The high-grade blood explosion ball was a powerful weapon against the enemy. As long as it was thrown out unexpectedly and detonated when it was close to the enemy, it could severely injure a 4th-grade human supreme martial artist or demonic beast. If it was prepared well, It could even kill a 4th-grade human supreme martial artist or demonic beast. After receiving the blood explosion ball, Ningyu separated a portion of his soul force and entered it. SSS. As soon as his soul force entered the blood explosion ball, Ningyu took a deep breath and quickly retracted his soul force. What's going on? The Dark Emperor asked. It's nothing. You guys rest here first. I'm going to refine this blood explosion ball. In order not to worry the Dark Emperor and the rest, Ningyu waved his hand and gestured for them to wait. At the same time, Ningyu took out the first storage bag he obtained from the 6-winged sky-soaring python and threw it to the Dark Emperor. The Dark Emperor glanced at Ningyu and retreated to the other side with the storage bag. After the Dark Emperor and the rest were far away, Ningyu then carefully examined the blood explosion ball. There are actually 2 soul forces inside. Ningyu stared at the blood explosion ball with a grave expression. The first owner of the blood explosion ball was a 3rd-grade human supreme martial artist, Venerable Blood Destruction. Therefore, it was understandable that the blood explosion ball contained Venerable Blood Extermination's soul power. The second owner of the blood explosion ball was the Bone Demon. Although the Dark Emperor and the others had cut off the connection between the Bone Demon and the blood explosion ball, the Bone Demon had already left his soul force in the blood explosion ball. Bone Devil's soul force is easy to deal with. After all, he has already been killed, but Venerable Bloodslayer's soul force is a big problem. Generally speaking, after the physical body died, the soul power would continue to exist for a period of time. The strength of Bone Devil's soul force was only at the peak of grade 7. Ningyu could easily devour it. However, the strength of Venerable Bloodslayer's soul power was very strong, reaching the middle stage of level 8. The strength of a middle stage rank 8 soul force, coupled with the fact that the Bloodslayer Venerable was still alive, caused Ningyu to feel very troubled. Forget it, let's go in first. Suddenly, Ningyu clenched his teeth and released all of his soul force into the blood explosion ball. The blood explosion ball was a great defensive treasure. Naturally, Ningyu would not choose to give it up. Hehe, Ningyu, this is the inside of the blood explosion ball. I am the strongest inside. After Ningyu's soul force entered the blood explosion ball, a cold laughter was suddenly heard. Looking at the black soul force floating in front of him, Ningyu said coldly, Venerable Bloodslayer, although you are the first owner of the blood explosion ball, your physical body is very far away from here. How are you going to compete with me? Kid, although Venerable Bloodslayer can't compete with you, what if I join in? As soon as Ningyu finished his words, a white soul force appeared beside Venerable Bloodslayer. Bone Demon. The white soul force was the only soul force left by Bone Demon in this world. As long as Bone Demon's soul force was destroyed, it would mean that Bone Demon would completely disappear from this world. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Bone Demon, you are very smart. Venerable Bloodslayer's lips curled up and said faintly, Humph. I am not helping you. Although he had helped Venerable Bloodslayer, Bone Demon would not admit it. Hehe, as long as you are happy. Venerable Bloodslayer did not mind and laughed. Do you think that you have me? At this moment, Ningyu calmed down. Ningyu knew that the more dangerous the situation was, the calmer he had to be. Of course. Bone Demon and Venerable Bloodslayer said proudly. Alright, I choose to give up fighting for the blood explosion ball and give it to you. Ningyu shrugged and immediately retreated to the other side. His eyeballs rolled and no one knew what Ningyu was thinking about. Give up on the blood explosion ball? Bone Demon and Venerable Bloodslayer looked at each other and saw a trace of shock in each other's soul force. The blood explosion ball was a treasure. How could Ningyu choose to give it up? You guys do whatever you want. I will just watch. I will not interfere with your friendship. Ningyu raised his right hand, slightly waved it, and said, Swoosh, swoosh. Ningyu's words instantly made Bone Demon and Venerable Bloodslayer take a few steps back. Their common enemy was Ningyu and there was no romantic relationship between them. Bone Demon, we cannot let Ningyu sow discord. We have to fight the enemy together. Venerable Bloodslayer was indeed a scheming person. 3 seconds later, he said in a deep voice. Bone Demon also seemed to know that he had been fooled by Ningyu. He bellowed and said, Go. Even if we have to detonate the blood explosion ball, we cannot let this brat succeed. Detonate the blood explosion ball? Looking at the two balls of soul force that were approaching him, Ningyu's lips curled up and he said coldly, "Too late." As he said the last word, a cold gleam suddenly penetrated into the blood explosion ball. A sapling. A sapling that grew from the branch of the world tree. The reason why Ningyu had retreated just now was to buy time so that he could communicate with the sapling. Some time ago, the sapling had begun its hibernation period. Ningyu even decided that if the sapling could not fight, he would give up on the blood explosion ball. Fortunately, the sapling did not drop the ball at the crucial moment. The news that the sapling had sent back was that it could help Ningyu this time, but only this time. If he wanted to get the sapling's help again, he would have to exchange a large amount of energy. Go! Ningyu pointed at Venerable Bloodslayer and Bone Demon's soul force and shouted. Kai Kai! As soon as Ningyu's voice fell, the sapling turned into an afterimage and flew out. Not only was the sapling fast, but its devouring ability was also top-notch. The first thing that was devoured by the sapling was Bone Demon's soul force. After 0.01 seconds, Bone Demon's soul force was devoured by the sapling. The next thing that was devoured was Venerable Bloodslayer's soul force. A second later, Venerable Bloodslayer's soul force was also devoured. Fart. At the same time, at the border between the outer and inner regions of the Beast King Palace, in front of the Yellow Level Palace, a martial artist suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, his face extremely pale. Venerable Bloodslayer, are you all right? A young martial artist beside the martial artist asked hurriedly. I'm fine. Venerable Bloodslayer said as he wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth. Venerable, should we try to enter the inner region? Xue Wuming stared at the Yellow Level Palace in front of him and frowned. After a period of flying, Xue Wuming and Venerable Bloodslayer finally arrived in front of the Yellow Level Palace. Chapter 942. Three-Headed Snake Whoosh. Beast King Palace, Outer Area, Hub Hall. Ningyu looked at the blood explosion orb floating in front of him with joy in his eyes. Having a blood explosion orb meant that he had a powerful trump card. Ningyu made a grabbing motion with his right hand and kept the blood explosion ball. Let's continue. After keeping the blood explosion orb, Ningyu waved his hand at the Dark Emperor and the others beside him. Ningyu, are you really going to the inner area of the Beast King's palace? The metal-devouring demon lion's face darkened. Bone Devil had just said that the inner area of the Beast King Palace was guarded by powerful demonic beasts. Among those powerful demonic beasts, the lowest cultivation level was at least mid-8th order. A mid-8th order demonic beast was equivalent to a 4th grade human sovereign. In the Heaven grade region, there was even an Earthshaker, which was equivalent to a 5th grade human sovereign. When the Earthshaker is enraged, blood flows like a river. The metal-devouring demon lion was only a peak 2nd grade human sovereign. Not to mention the Earthshaker, it couldn't even contend against the mid-8th grade demonic beast, the three-headed serpent. Of course it's true. Ningyu stopped and said to the metal-devouring demon lion, if you don't want to go, you can leave. I won't force you. After all, the metal-devouring demon lion was not under his control. Ningyu could not allow it to continue following him. Therefore, Ningyu gave the metal-devouring demon lion a choice. If it wanted to follow, he would welcome it at any time. If it wanted to leave, he would not force it. The gold-devouring demon lion's face darkened as it weighed the pros and cons. What's there to be afraid of? Since we're here, we'll just take things as they come. There's no reason for us to leave. Seeing the metal-devouring demon lion's appearance, the Dark Emperor curled his lips and said, our cultivation hasn't even reached the sovereign realm. Even we aren't afraid, so what are you afraid of? Humph. Let's go, who's afraid of who? Originally, the gold-devouring demon lion didn't want to go to the inner region. However, when he heard the Dark Emperor's mocking words, he was instantly enraged. Since everyone has reached an agreement, I have a few points to emphasize. Ningyu looked around and said. First, Lightning Wolf King, Li Fire Divine Eagle, Qin Xiong, and Lu Wei, you must enter the storage ring. Secondly, Gold Devouring Demon Lion, Dark Emperor, you can follow by my side, but if you encounter anything, you can't act on your own. You have to get my permission first. Thirdly, and also the most important point, at this point, Ningyu paused for a moment. Then, he unleashed his aura and said coldly, if anyone dares to speak of the fact that a storage ring can store a person, don't blame me for being impolite. Don't worry, I'm sure no one will dare to tell others. The Dark Emperor shrugged and said. The Dark Emperor knew that Ningyu was referring to the gold-devouring demon lion, so when he spoke, he couldn't help but glance at the gold-devouring demon lion. The metal-devouring demon lion knew that it was weak. It turned its head and snorted coldly. Although the metal-devouring demon lion looked disdainful on the surface, he sucked in a breath of cold air. That was close. The metal-devouring demon lion was not a fool. He was very glad that he didn't choose to leave just now. Although Ningyu had asked him to leave, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that once he left, the consequences would be unimaginable. Ningyu would never allow someone who knew the secret of the storage ring to leave. Since no one has any objections, then, seeing that the metal-devouring demon lion had no objections, Ningyu stomped on the ground and was about to leave. However, before Ningyu had taken a few steps, he thought of something. Little flying python. He had been so focused on fighting the bone demon and the crimson bat king that he didn't have time to pay attention to the little flying python. After knowing that he had been tricked by the six-winged flying python, Ningyu decided to find the six-winged flying python and settle the score with him. The little flying python was the medium through which Ningyu and the six-winged flying python communicated. Naturally, Ningyu wouldn't forget about them. Dark Emperor, go and see if the little flying python is dead. Ningyu shifted his gaze and saw the 4 little flying pythons in the hub hall. Understood. The Dark Emperor responded, and then his figure flashed as he flew towards the Great Hall of Hub. A while later, the Dark Emperor returned with the 4 little flying pythons. They're smart to know that they hid in the hub hall during the battle. They're only slightly injured, nothing serious. The Dark Emperor pointed at the 4 little flying pythons and said, very well, bring them along. Ningyu waved his hand, and then his figure flashed as he left first. Behind Ningyu, the metal-devouring demon lion and the Dark Emperor brought 2 little flying pythons each and disappeared together with Ningyu. The outer area of the Beast King Hall was divided into 4 parts: north, south, east, and west. Among them, the northern part was connected to the inner area of the Beast King Hall. In other words, the northern part of the outer area was next to the yellow level hall in the inner area. Meanwhile, in front of the yellow level hall, whoosh, a few figures tore through the void and appeared. There's been a huge battle here. The cultivators that suddenly appeared were none other than Ningyu and the others. Ningyu's expression turned grave as he said in a deep voice, the 2 sides were at least prime realm cultivators. It's the Spirit Cauldrons group. The Dark Emperor had a keen sense of smell. He sniffed and knew that one side of the battle was the Spirit Cauldrons group. That's right. Ningyu nodded in agreement. The Bone Demon said that the hunters in the yellow level area are 3-headed snakes. What should we do if the 3-headed snake appears? The metal-devouring demon lion frowned slightly and said, creak. As soon as the metal-devouring demon lion said that, the yellow level hall opened slowly. Then, a 3-headed snake-like demonic beast crawled out. 3-headed snake. Looking at the demonic beast that suddenly appeared, Ningyu said in a deep voice. But soon, Ningyu revealed a doubtful expression. That was because the 3-headed snake was not in its peak state. All 3 of his snake heads were injured to varying degrees. Who injured the 3-headed snake? Could it be the Spirit Cauldrons group? Ningyu frowned and said doubtfully. The 3-headed snake was a mid-stage 8th-rank demonic beast, and its strength was equivalent to a 4th-grade human sovereign. The Spirit Cauldrons group was already seriously injured. Logically speaking, there was no way they could injure the 3-headed snake. Humans, I know you want to enter the yellow level hall. At this moment, the 3-headed snake opened its middle head and said, as long as you can defeat me, you can enter the yellow level hall. Otherwise, I will eat you. Big brother, why are you talking nonsense with them? We haven't tasted human flesh for a long time. In my opinion, We should hurry up and slaughter these fat lambs. The snake head on the left shook and said sinisterly. That's right. We suffered a great loss last time. If we do things according to the rules this time, we might die. The snake head on the right said, besides, the core area of the Beast King Hall is in chaos. It is unknown whether the Beast King can survive. We have to think for ourselves. The snake head in the middle had a gloomy expression. No one knew what it was thinking. All right, kill them and replenish energy. Chapter 943. Three-headed snake, you're no longer at your peak state. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to kill us, right? From the words of the snake head on the right, Ningyu could tell that it was the venerable of Spirit Cauldron and the others who had just entered the yellow level hall. If he were to fight the three-headed snake head on now, even if he could enter the yellow level hall, he might consume too much energy. Wouldn't it be very dangerous if he were to encounter the venerable of Spirit Cauldron and the others in the yellow level hall? A skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. Although the three-headed snake was injured, Ningyu would have to use the blood explosion ball to kill it. After all, the three-headed snake had 3 lives and was extremely powerful. Kid, you're only at the late stage of the manifestation realm. How dare you speak so arrogantly? The snake head in the middle stuck out its tongue and said, I only need to use 10% of my strength to kill a martial artist like you. 10% of your strength? Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Ningyu curled his lips and said disdainfully. As matters stood, Ningyu already knew that he could no longer communicate with the three-headed snake. The three-headed snake had already made up its mind to be enemies with him, so he might as well go with the flow. If the three-headed snake only used 10% of its strength, then he would let the three-headed snake know what cruelty was. Kid, are you thinking, this three-headed snake is really stupid to want to fight me with 10% of his strength? The three-headed snake seemed to have guessed what Ningyu was thinking and said sinisterly, even a lion uses its full strength to catch a rabbit, let alone a cunning human like you. The moment the word go fell, the three-headed snake instantly shot out and rushed toward Ningyu at an extremely shocking speed. Kai kai. The three-headed snake was so fast that its body even made a hissing sound as it rubbed against the air. Not good. Sensing the terrifying yuan qi fluctuations emitted by the three-headed snake, Ningyu's expression changed drastically and he hurriedly retreated. Originally, Ningyu thought that the three-headed snake had suffered a serious injury and its strength would definitely drop a lot. But now, Ningyu finally knew that he was wrong, and he was ridiculously wrong. The three-headed serpent had indeed suffered heavy injuries, but its strength hadn't decreased too much. It still had 80% of its peak battle prowess. Solitaire. Ningyu was not a hothead. As he retreated, he waved the red demon sword and slashed out an astonishing sword wave. Voila! A huge sword wave appeared in the air. What? However, the three-headed serpent's subsequent actions caused Ningyu's heart to sink to rock bottom. The middle head of the three-headed snake suddenly opened and swallowed Solitaire in front of Ningyu. Gulp! After chewing for a while, the three-headed snake stuck out its tongue and licked the corner of its mouth, saying, delicious. Even though it's not as good as human meat, it's still pretty good. Damn it. Dark Emperor, gold-devouring demon lion, think of a way to enter the yellow-level palace first. Leave the three-headed snake to me. At the critical moment, Ningyu cursed inwardly and roared at the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion. Be careful. The Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion knew that their strength was limited. If they stayed, they would only be a burden to Ningyu. They responded and forcefully tore through the void, charging toward the yellow-level palace. You want to enter the yellow-level palace? Not so easy. Seeing the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion disappear, the three-headed snake swung its tail and created a gust of wind. Fart! Fart! The gust of wind was extremely powerful. Even though the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion defended with all their might, they were still blasted out of the void. Both of them spat out a mouthful of blood, and their auras dropped significantly. Even though they were injured by the three-headed snake, the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion both fell in front of the yellow-level palace. As long as they could stand up, they would be able to enter the yellow-level palace. Die! How could the three-headed snake allow such a delicious meal to leave its mouth? With a twist of its body, it disappeared into the void. 3 lives palm. Seeing the three-headed snake disappear, Ningyu hurriedly formed a hand seal and blasted out a huge blood-colored palm print. Rumble. The palm print fanned toward the void. Bang. In the next moment, a crisp sound rang out. The three-headed serpent was forcibly thrown out of the void. The Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion's mouths were wide open, their faces filled with disbelief. Since when did Ningyu's strength become so powerful? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and enter the yellow level palace. Don't cause trouble for me here. Seeing the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion staring blankly, Ningyu was immediately infuriated. I'm defending against the three-headed snake with all my might, but you two aren't making use of the time to enter the yellow level palace. All right, we'll leave now. The Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion were experienced demonic beasts. After being berated by Ningyu, they immediately reacted and flew into the yellow level palace. Swish. As soon as the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion entered the yellow level palace, Ningyu tore through the void and appeared in front of the yellow level palace. Wielding the red demon sword, Ningyu's eyes were gloomy. The three-headed snake had been forced back by his 3 lives palm because it was careless. If it wasn't for the three-headed snake's carelessness, how could Ningyu have forced it back? It was obvious that this kind of carelessness would only happen once, not twice. Therefore, Ningyu's eyes darted around, thinking of a countermeasure. I'm going to swallow you alive. Due to carelessness, the three-headed snake had missed 2 delicious demonic beasts. The consequences of a mid-stage 8th-order demonic beast's anger were dire. After a moment of rage, the three-headed snake's body transformed, and its body suddenly grew several times larger. The 3 huge snake heads floated in mid-air, flicking their tongues before retracting back into their stomachs. Swallowing a living person alive. This is my first time doing it. Just thinking about it makes me a little excited. The three-headed snake said sinisterly. Then, it opened its mouth, and a terrifying devouring force surged out. Not good. The devouring force released by the three-headed snake was very strong. It was so strong that Ningyu approached the three-headed snake step by step. Bang! To prevent himself from being swallowed by the three-headed snake, Ningyu stabbed the red demon sword into the ground, trying to stabilize his body. Ningyu might have thought too much. The red demon sword left a crack in the ground, but Ningyu's body was still slowly approaching the three-headed snake. Just as he was about to reach the three-headed snake, Ningyu finally couldn't take it anymore. His body flew straight towards the three-headed snake's huge mouth. Ha ha ha! Seeing Ningyu flying towards it, the three-headed snake's leftmost head laughed maniacally. Crack! As it turned out, it wasn't just humans who couldn't be too complacent. Even snakes couldn't be too complacent. At this critical moment, Ningyu used all his strength to swing the red demon sword, slashing at the three-headed snake's leftmost head. A crisp sound rang out. A huge snake head fell to the ground, moving a few meters before coming to a stop. I'm going to grind your bones to dust. Chapter 944. Chapter 944. Evil Wind Formation. If Ningyu's 3 lives palm could be said to be due to the snake's carelessness, now that one of its heads had been chopped off, it was a huge mistake. The three-headed snake had 3 heads and was said to have 3 lives. According to rumors, even if one of its heads was chopped off, the snake's battle prowess would not decrease much. However, the snake knew very well that those were just rumors and could not be trusted. Each head represented 30% of its strength. Now that one of its heads had been chopped off, the snake had lost 30% of its battle prowess. In addition, the snake was heavily injured, so it only had about 50% of its battle prowess left. Swish! After a moment of rage, the snake's body disappeared once more. This time, the snake was on guard. It attacked with all its might, using every ounce of strength it had. Bang, bang, bang. The three-headed snake attacked with all its might, but Ningyu suffered a lot. After all, the snake still had about 50% of its battle prowess. Whether it was intentional or not, Ningyu was struck by the snake's tail one after another. The snake did not want to kill Ningyu so early. It wanted to slowly torture Ningyu, torturing Ningyu to death. "You'll all be crying later." Ningyu endured the excruciating pain as he took out the blood explosion orb and hid it in his sleeve. The blood explosion ball might not be able to kill the snake at its peak, but Ningyu was confident that he could kill it now that it only had 50% of its battle prowess left. Endure. Bitterness followed by sweetness. Ningyu's conviction remained firm. After whipping for more than 10 minutes, the snake wrapped its tail around Ningyu's waist and brought Ningyu in front of it. "Kid, aren't you showing off? Aren't you very powerful? Jump again for me." The snake's middle head said sinisterly. "Big brother, in my opinion, we should kill this kid first to avoid any unforeseen events." The snake head on the right was more thoughtful. The scene of the left head being chopped off not long ago was still vivid in his mind. "What are you afraid of? This brat's flying sword has fallen to the ground, and his body is under my control. I don't believe that he can eat me with his mouth." The snake head in the middle did not take the words of the snake head on the right to heart. But the snake head on the right wanted to say something but was interrupted by the snake head in the middle. "No buts, watch me slowly strangle him to death." As he spoke, the snake head in the middle slightly increased its strength. Ka. It was a very painful thing to be entangled by a snake. As the three-headed serpent increased its strength, cracking sounds rang out from Ningyu's body. It was obvious that if this continued, Ningyu's ribs would definitely break. Closer, a little closer. Ningyu didn't care about the tearing sensation coming from all over his body. He kept chanting. At the same time, the blood explosion orb in Ningyu's sleeve quietly flowed into his palm. In the blink of an eye, 3 minutes had passed. Ningyu was still waiting. In these 3 minutes, Ningyu had endured immense pain. The pain was indescribable with words. At that moment, beads of sweat appeared on Ningyu's forehead. "In 5 more minutes, I'll kill him." The snake head in the middle seemed to enjoy the feeling of squeezing Ningyu as it said proudly. "The thought of tasting human flesh later makes me a little excited," the snake head on the right said sinisterly. "This is the moment." Hearing the conversation between the two snake heads, Ningyu suddenly flipped his palm. The blood explosion orb faced downwards, and he used all his strength to slap the three-headed serpent's body. Ah! The intense pain caused by the blood explosion orb made the three-headed serpent let go of Ningyu instantly. "Let's go." Ningyu seized this rare opportunity and immediately used a secret technique. He tore through the void and charged toward the yellow level palace. Not good, explode. Before he even entered the yellow level palace, Ningyu's expression changed drastically. Without any time to think, Ningyu immediately detonated the blood explosion orb. Rumble. A deafening sound rang out. Following the explosion of the blood explosion orb, the three-headed serpent also exploded. A terrifying shockwave rushed toward Ningyu without any restraint. Seeing the terrifying shockwave, Ningyu grabbed the red demon sword and entered the yellow level palace in the blink of an eye. Creak. The shockwave blasted the door of the yellow level palace and even caused the door to tremble. Whoosh. Inside the yellow level palace, Ningyu slumped onto the ground. Fortunately, the three-headed serpent was too stupid. Otherwise, it would not have been able to escape today. So stupid. No wonder the spirit cauldron venerable and the others could enter the yellow level palace. Ningyu muttered as he circulated a technique to recover. About half an hour later, Ningyu slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He had finally recovered to his peak state. That's right. Where are the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion? After recovering to his peak state, Ningyu looked around but did not see the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion. Although he did not see the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion, Ningyu found a narrow passageway not far away. There's only one passageway? Ningyu opened his mouth in disbelief. Before entering the yellow level palace, Ningyu thought that the yellow level palace would be huge and complicated. After entering the yellow level palace, the situation inside disappointed Ningyu a little. Forget it, I'd better go look for the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion. Ningyu shook his head, calmed his thoughts, and walked straight into the passageway. He, Ningyu, the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion are in our hands. If you want to save their lives, come to the 10th room in the passageway. However, as soon as Ningyu stepped into the passageway, he heard a familiar voice. The spirit cauldron venerable. Hearing the familiar voice, Ningyu's expression instantly turned gloomy. No wonder he did not see the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion. It turned out that they had already been captured by the spirit cauldron venerable and the others. Ningyu, don't think about playing any tricks. If you dare to, I guarantee that I'll kill the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion. The spirit cauldron venerable's voice sounded again. Now, just do as I say and enter the passageway. There's a room 10 meters away. Open the door and enter. Ningyu did not respond and entered the passageway according to the spirit cauldron venerable's instructions. 10 seconds later, Ningyu arrived in front of the first room. On the door, there were 4 big words. Yin Wind Array Door. Seeing the 4 big words, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. The Yin Wind Array was an extremely terrifying array. The yin wind inside was as sharp as a knife. Not to mention that Ningyu was only at the advanced stage of the manifestation state. Even if Ningyu had the cultivation of the supremacy state, it would be difficult for him to resist the power of the yin wind array. Phantom armor. Since things had come to this, Ningyu had no choice but to wear the broken phantom armor on his body. The phantom armor had already cracked when it resisted the explosion of the Bone Devil and the Crimson Bat King. As for whether it could resist the yin wind array, Ningyu was not absolutely sure. Chapter 945. Great Recovery Pill. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. As soon as Ningyu stepped into the room, 3 gusts of wind attacked him. How could Ningyu allow the gusts to hit him? Ningyu stomped on the ground and his body shot out. As a Sky Supreme in his previous life, Ningyu had come into contact with the yin wind array and knew that it had an obvious characteristic. The gusts of wind within the yin wind array came in waves. As long as one's perception was strong enough, one could stay in the yin wind array for a long time without wearing any armor. Activating the yin wind array required a huge amount of energy. Therefore, Ningyu guessed that the yin wind array in this room could not be activated for a long time. Bang! However, after Ningyu's body flew out, the door suddenly closed. Damn it! The closing of the door meant that Ningyu had to hold on until the yin wind array ran out of energy. Who knew how much energy was behind the yin wind array? If it was a lot, wouldn't Ningyu die? Whoosh! However, Ningyu suffered a little when he was distracted. A gust of wind passed by him and cut a wound on his skin. If he had not dodged in time, he would have been seriously injured. Drip! Drip! Even so, fresh blood dripped from Ningyu's skin. At this moment, Ningyu could not care about his wound. He used his perception and carefully dodged the gust of wind. Rumble. Just when Ningyu was focused on dodging the gust of wind, a terrifying rumble came from under his feet. Ding. Then, a crisp sound rang out and the terrifying yin wind array suddenly stopped. The sudden change made Ningyu's mouth slightly open. His face was filled with disbelief. What's going on? Ningyu would never have thought that the yin wind formation would actually stop operating. Crack, crack. At this moment, a cracking sound came from the ground. Ningyu hurriedly jumped to the other side. After about a minute, a cylindrical platform appeared in Ningyu's vision. Looking at the cylindrical platform that was as thick as a person's waist, Ningyu's eyes widened in shock. How could there be a high platform in the yin wind formation? Moreover, it had risen from the ground. Could it be that the blood triggered the restriction underground? Ningyu thought of a possibility. Just now, his skin was accidentally cut by the strong wind, and a few drops of blood dripped onto the ground. From then on, the cylindrical platform appeared. Golden box. Ningyu's gaze shifted and finally landed on the golden box at the top of the round table. The golden box was about the size of a fist. Most importantly, the golden box had been opened. My blood is that powerful. It can even open the golden box, or in other words, as long as it's blood, it can open the golden box. Ningyu thought for a moment and finally waved his right hand. A wisp of vital energy flew out and dragged the golden box in front of him. Crack, crack, crack. Ningyu took down the golden box with one foot and the cylindrical platform slowly retreated into the ground with the back of his foot. Great recovery pill. Ningyu did not care at all that the cylindrical platform had retreated underground. At this moment, Ningyu's eyes were fixed on the white elixir in the golden box, and his face was burning. Great recovery pill, a pinnacle 8th grade elixir. However, the effect of a supreme great recovery pill was even stronger than some 9th grade elixirs. The white elixir in the golden box was a supreme great recovery pill. As long as I refine this supreme great recovery pill, I have an 80% chance of advancing to the pinnacle of the manifestation realm. Ningyu's face was gloomy. Refining the great recovery pill required time, at least an hour. In other words, within this hour, Ningyu could not be disturbed in any way. Otherwise, all his efforts would be in vain. Ningyu rolled his eyes and decided to test it. Spirit Cauldron the Venerable, what are you doing? Hurry up and open the door. I want to go out. Ningyu roared. Go out. Enjoy the joy brought by the yin wind array. The door will open by itself in an hour, and you can come out then. The Spirit Cauldron the Venerable's cold voice sounded. Of course, the premise is that you can come out alive. Ha ha ha, good chance. After getting the Spirit Cauldron the Venerable's reply, Ningyu's lips curled up slightly, and a smile appeared on his face. Ningyu needed an hour to refine the Great Recovery Pill, and the Spirit Cauldron the Venerable said that the door would open by itself in an hour. The time in between was just enough for Ningyu to refine the Great Recovery Pill. To be on the safe side, Ningyu still set up a small array formation at the door. He then sat down cross-legged, opened his mouth, and swallowed the Great Recovery Pill. Hiss. As soon as the Great Recovery Pill entered his mouth, Ningyu wanted to spit it out. Hot. It was too damn hot. Moreover, the heat of the Great Recovery Pill was not ordinary heat, but extremely, extremely hot. As expected of a pinnacle grade 8 elixir, Ningyu clenched his teeth and forcefully swallowed the Great Recovery Pill into his stomach. Generally speaking, a terrifying elixir like the Great Recovery Pill could only be controlled by a Supremacy Realm martial artist. If it wasn't for the increasing danger ahead, Ningyu wouldn't take the risk to refine the Great Recovery Pill. Suppress it. Ningyu bellowed and controlled the soul force in his body to surge towards the Great Recovery Pill, wanting to refine it. Swish. While Ningyu was slowly refining the Great Recovery Pill. At the end of the yellow level hall, in the 10th room. I didn't expect you to be a purple gold sky devouring hound. You really hid it from us. The Spirit Cauldron the Venerable stared at the Dark Emperor, who had transformed into his true form, and said sinisterly, Purple gold sky devouring hound, the Emperor of the Sky Devouring Hound clan. Hehe, leave this black dog to me. I guarantee that I can tame it. The Blood Destruction Venerable laughed sinisterly. Our corpse sect has a secret technique that can completely refine a purple gold sky devouring hound. The evil dragon Venerable snorted and took out his cauldron. Coincidentally, I brought my cauldron with me. Protect me, I can refine quite a few elixirs. Using a sky devouring hound to refine elixirs? The Blood Destruction Venerable and the Spirit Cauldron the Venerable were puzzled. That's right. Elixirs refined from a sky-devouring hound are very effective. However, this sky-devouring hound's cultivation is a bit low, so the elixirs refined from it can't increase our cultivation by much. It can only increase our strength by about 10%, the evil dragon Venerable said proudly. What? About 10% of strength? The Blood Destruction Venerable and the others' expressions changed greatly. They had to obtain elixirs that could increase their strength by 10% even if they had to risk their lives. The two of you protect me. No matter what, don't let me be disturbed. The evil dragon Venerable's lips curled up unnaturally. Aunt Yoon, at the corner of the room, Yunmu said. Don't say anything and don't do anything. Let them refine elixirs. We'll stay out of this. The talisman Venerable interrupted Yunmu. Can we really stay out of this? Chapter 946. Refining. How confident are you in refining elixirs with heaven-devouring hounds? Inside the room, the venerable spirit cauldron and the venerable bloodslayer did not blindly choose to believe the venerable evil dragon. Be it the venerable spirit cauldron or the venerable bloodslayer, they were both alchemists of high levels. They had never heard of refining elixirs with heaven-devouring hounds. I'm not very confident, only 30% to 40%. The venerable evil dragon shrugged. All right, we'll protect you. I hope you won't disappoint us. The venerable spirit cauldron and the venerable bloodslayer pondered for a moment before they flew out of the room and stood on either side of the door. Although the venerable spirit cauldron and the venerable bloodslayer had left the room, they still kept an eye out. Yin Hua, Shui Wuming. The two geniuses from the Supreme Nine Purities Temple and the Blood God Palace were cultivating in the room while paying close attention to the venerable evil dragon. If the venerable evil dragon dared to play any tricks, they would immediately spread the news. There might be some misunderstanding between us. Looking at the venerable evil dragon who was approaching him, the Dark Emperor rolled his eyes and said, "What can't we talk about? You want to talk about it with me?" The venerable evil dragon stopped in his tracks and took out a flying sword from his pocket. Licking the flying sword with his tongue, the evil dragon lord said darkly, "I will fulfill your wish. This knife has already cut through 999 demon beasts' chests, and you are the 1000th. Break, it's fine. You're going to put me in the cauldron to refine me anyway. Even if I die, I'll be spared a lot of pain." The Dark Emperor let out a mouthful of turbid air and looked like he was relieved. "Oh, you're quite open-minded." Hearing the Dark Emperor's cheerful words, the venerable evil dragon was stunned for a moment before he said, "Since you're in such a cheerful mood, I'll make you happy." With that, the venerable evil dragon flicked his wrist and threw the cauldron into the air. Rumble. As soon as the cauldron flew into the air, it suddenly enlarged several times. "Get in." The venerable evil dragon grabbed the Dark Emperor and threw him into the cauldron. "You should go in too." After some thought, the evil dragon venerable grabbed the metal-devouring demon lion and threw it into the cauldron. After doing all this, the evil dragon venerable sat cross-legged under the cauldron and formed a series of hand seals. In an instant, a blazing flame appeared on the evil dragon venerable's wrist. It suddenly leaped up and began to burn the cauldron. "Enjoy it. After an hour, you will all be refined into pus." The corner of the evil dragon venerable's mouth rose as he said sinisterly, "Poochie, poochie." Inside the pill furnace, as the temperature rose, the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion spat out a large mouthful of dark red blood. "Damn it, we're in big trouble this time." The Dark Emperor wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said fiercely, "Don't let me out, otherwise I will skin you alive. Pull out your tendons, dig out your heart. Can you just cut it out? We're about to be refined, yet you're still spouting nonsense." The gold-devouring demon lion didn't like the Dark Emperor. At a time like this, he was still talking nonsense. He was about to be refined, but instead of running away, he said that he was in deep trouble. It was simply arrogant to the extreme. Rolling his eyes at the gold-devouring demon lion, the Dark Emperor said, "The heaven-devouring hound clan is not something that low-level beasts like you can compare to. Watch out." In the next moment, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth and spat out a faint purple ball of light. Wung wung. The faint purple ball of light first circled in midair and then enveloped the Dark Emperor. Kai kai. The scorching heat roasted the purple ball of light, making a sizzling sound. Then, it shot towards the gold-devouring demon lion. "I'm going to burn it." Seeing this, the gold-devouring demon lion couldn't help but curse. "What is this thing? Hurry up and give me some too. I'm about to become a roasted lion." "No way. You're so big. If I give you some of the purple ball of light, what am I going to do?" The Dark Emperor turned his head away and ignored the gold-devouring demon lion. Resisting the intense heat, the gold-devouring demon lion said hurriedly, "As long as you give me some purple ball of light, I can swear a heavenly oath to obey your orders from now on." The gold-devouring demon lion was not like the Dark Emperor. In the purple ball of light, the Dark Emperor could last at least an hour without any problems. However, the gold-devouring demon lion couldn't even last 10 minutes. Becoming a roasted lion was already a good thing, But the gold-devouring demon lion might be burnt to a crisp. That's a good idea. I happen to be lacking a follower. The Dark Emperor's heart jumped, but on the surface, he said reluctantly, "All right, swear a heavenly oath first." The gold-devouring demon lion didn't dare to delay and quickly swore a heavenly oath. Swoosh. The Dark Emperor didn't go back on his words. He opened his mouth and spat out another purple ball of light. Kai kai. The purple ball of light forced the heat wave around the gold-devouring demon lion away and enveloped the gold-devouring demon lion. Being enveloped by the purple ball of light, the gold-devouring demon lion revealed a relieved expression. To be honest, during that period of time, he was really going to become a roasted lion. Bang! While the evil dragon sovereign was refining the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion with all his might, in the first room of the yellow-level palace. Feeling the dull sound coming from his sea of consciousness, Ningyu slowly let out a turbid breath. His face was burning with passion. Peak of the manifestation realm. Originally, Ningyu thought that he would need at least an hour to completely refine the Great Restore Pill. Who would have thought that he would be able to completely refine the Great Restore Pill in just half an hour? The medicinal effects of the Great Restore Pill were very domineering. It directly sent Ningyu to the peak of the manifestation realm. In fact, if not for Ningyu suppressing the restless essence chi in his sea of consciousness, he might have even advanced to the half-step supremacy realm. Phew. Slowly letting out a turbid breath, Ningyu suddenly stood up. Now that I've advanced to the peak of the manifestation realm, my overall strength has at least doubled. Ningyu was very confident in his own strength. When he was in the late stage of the manifestation realm, he could easily defeat a peak second-grade human supreme. Now that he had advanced to the peak of the manifestation realm, Ningyu wouldn't even have to fear a peak third-grade human supreme. Break. With a cold look in his eyes, Ningyu wielded the red demon sword and suddenly slashed at the door of the room. Crack. The power of Ningyu's sword was extremely powerful. The sealed door was slashed in half by his sword. Not good. Just as Ningyu slashed the door open, Venerable Spirit Cauldron's expression changed and he said in a deep voice, "What's going on?" Venerable Blood Slash asked in confusion. Venerable Spirit Cauldron closed his eyes and released his perception. After a while, Venerable Spirit Cauldron said in a deep voice, "It's Ningyu." Ningyu? Venerable Blood Slash was stunned for a moment and then asked in confusion, "Wasn't Ningyu trapped in the first room? How could he? Nothing is impossible." Before Venerable Blood Slash finished his words, a faint voice rang in his ears. "Russell." Chapter 947. Kill. Ningyu. Venerable Bloodslayer's face instantly darkened as he looked at the familiar figure in front of him. Although Venerable Spirit Cauldron had been communicating with Ningyu ever since he entered the yellow-level hall, Venerable Bloodslayer also knew how terrifying the chilling wind formation was. After all, they had also experienced the chilling wind formation. At that time, all of them joined forces to resist the chilling wind formation for an hour, allowing them to escape. Ningyu was only at the late stage of the manifestation realm. No, the peak of the manifestation realm. Venerable Bloodslayer's eyes widened and his face was filled with disbelief. Ningyu had actually advanced to the peak of the manifestation realm. Isn't this 2F** King terrifying? Playing tricks on me. Venerable Spirit Cauldron growled and immediately rose from the ground, charging directly at Ningyu. Ningyu had advanced to the peak of the manifestation realm, but in the eyes of Venerable Spirit Cauldron, it was nothing. How could a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm overturn the heavens? Life and death palm. Ningyu slightly bent his legs, formed a seal with his right hand, and pushed his palm out. Bang! The two palms collided. A crisp sound was heard, and then the two figures retreated. Crack! Staring at Ningyu on the other side, Venerable Spirit Cauldron said coldly, "I didn't expect you to advance to the peak of the manifestation realm and improve your strength so much. It's nothing much. Hand over the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion, and I can consider sparing your life." After stabilizing his body, Ningyu's face was expressionless as he said indifferently. Ningyu was not a fool. As he spoke to stall Venerable Spirit Cauldron and Venerable Bloodslayer, He quietly released his perception, wanting to enter the room to find the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion. Hiss. However, as soon as Ningyu's perception approached the room, he gasped. At this time, Ningyu heard Venerable Spirit Cauldron's mocking voice. Just a few words of praise and you think you can ascend to the heavens? To tell you the truth, the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion are indeed in the room. Right now, they should be about to be refined into pills by the evil dragon sovereign. Venerable Spirit Cauldron pouted and pointed at the door. Venerable Bloodslayer and I have set up a formation in this room. Not to mention you, even a fly can't escape. Noisy. Ningyu didn't want to listen to the Venerable Spirit Cauldron's nonsense. He let out a low growl and immediately poured the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness into the red demon sword, then slashed out a sword wave. Huala. A waist-thick sword wave peeled off from the red demon sword and rushed towards the Venerable Spirit Cauldron at an extremely terrifying speed. Insignificant skill. The corners of the Venerable Spirit Cauldron's mouth rose slightly. Then, he flicked his wrist and a cold light flew out of his sleeve. The speed of the cold light was not slow either. In the blink of an eye, it collided with the sword wave. What happened next was clearly beyond the Venerable Spirit Cauldron's expectations. He had no choice but to re-evaluate Ningyu. The cold light that he threw out did not even last for a second before it was blasted away. Then, Solitaire cut through the void and appeared beside him. Whoosh. Fortunately, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron dodged in time. Only the corner of his clothes was cut. Otherwise, Ningyu's sword wave alone would have been enough to make the Venerable Spirit Cauldron suffer. Ningyu, is that you? If it's you, hurry up and save me. I'm about to become a roasted emperor. Just as Ningyu was about to attack again, the Dark Emperor's voice sounded in his mind. Just now, when Ningyu was trapped in the Yin Wind Array, the Dark Emperor had no way of contacting him. Now that Ningyu was outside the room, the Dark Emperor could naturally find a way to communicate with him. Hold on a little longer. I'm going to save you now. Originally, Ningyu wanted to have a good spar with the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the Venerable Blood Destruction. However, after hearing the Dark Emperor's anxious words, he could only give up for the time being and attack the array at the door. Anyway, there was no way to kill the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the Venerable Blood Destruction in a short period of time. It was more practical to save the Dark Emperor first. Solitaire. Holding the red fiend sword, Ningyu slashed out dozens of sword waves. Triple birth palm. At the same time, Ningyu kept waving his hands and several palm prints swept out. It's actually so powerful. Seeing the sword waves and palm prints that were approaching them, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the Venerable Blood Destruction revealed a look of horror. Especially the Venerable Spirit Cauldron, he even felt that it was unrealistic. Compared to the Venerable Blood Destruction, he knew the terror of Solitaire the best. At this moment, the palm prints that Ningyu slapped out were clearly more powerful than Solitaire. This was a little awkward. Retreat. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the Venerable Blood Destruction thought of this word at the same time. Ningyu's strength had already increased to the point where he could compete with them. It was really unwise to go head-on with Ningyu at this time. If they were to suffer some injuries, wouldn't it benefit the Venerable Evil Dragon? Crack. Just as the Venerable Spirit Cauldron and the Venerable Blood Destruction took a few steps back, Solitaire and the Triple Birth Palm blasted on the door. The sound of the door shattering was heard. Fart. Following this sound was the sound of blood spurting out of his mouth. In the room, the Venerable Evil Dragon spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his face became very pale. Venerable Spirit Cauldron, Venerable Blood Destruction, what are you? The Venerable Evil Dragon put the huge pill cauldron on the ground, stood up and roared. The Venerable Evil Dragon's roar came to an abrupt stop halfway. Ningyu. Seeing the young martial artist slowly walking into the room, the Venerable Evil Dragon's face instantly turned gloomy, extremely gloomy. Swoosh. On the other side, Yin Hua and the others stood up uniformly, and their eyes all fell on Ningyu. Not only that, but they also released their aura and pressed towards Ningyu. Venerable Evil Dragon, let go of the Dark Emperor, and I can let bygones be bygones. Ningyu did not care about the aura of Yin Hua and the others at all. He approached the venerable evil dragon step by step, and said as he walked, "Ha ha ha." After a short moment of shock, the venerable evil dragon raised his head and laughed wildly. "Are you talking to me? If you're not deaf, I'm indeed talking to you." Ning Yu stopped when he was 1 jong away from the venerable evil dragon. 1 jong. This distance was neither too long nor too short, and it was just right. He could advance to attack, and retreat to defend. I've already refined the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion into elixirs. You're too late. The venerable evil dragon did not attack Ning Yu blindly. Even venerable blood extermination and venerable spirit cauldron could not stop Ning Yu. If he acted rashly, he might meet with misfortune. Venerable spirit cauldron, venerable blood extermination, what the hell are you doing? The venerable evil dragon was very scheming. On the surface, he was talking to Ning Yu, but he was secretly contacting venerable spirit cauldron and the others. Outside the room, venerable spirit cauldron and venerable blood extermination looked at each other and understood each other's intentions. They chose not to respond to the venerable evil dragon. Let Ning Yu and the venerable evil dragon both suffer. This was what the venerable spirit cauldron and venerable blood extermination were thinking, and it was also the situation they were most happy to see. Yin Hua, pay attention to the situation inside. Contact us immediately if there's any movement. In order not to arouse the venerable evil dragon's suspicion, the venerable spirit cauldron and venerable blood extermination even returned to the entrance of the yellow level hall. Chapter 948. 1 versus 2-inch-old fart. Since when was I refined into an elixir? The Dark Emperor had been waiting for Ning Yu's arrival. To be honest, the Dark Emperor still felt a little overwhelmed after being refined in the cauldron for more than half an hour, even though he was covered by the purple light. Shut up. The venerable evil dragon was already furious that he couldn't contact the venerable of blood destruction and the venerable of spirit cauldron. Now that he heard the Dark Emperor's words, he was even more furious. The venerable evil dragon was very terrifying in his rage. He shouted in a low voice, and then suddenly slapped his palm towards the pill furnace beside him. "If you dare to barge into my room, I'll send the Dark Emperor to hell." As the venerable evil dragon roared, his palm suddenly slapped the cauldron. Bang! A crisp sound rang out, and the venerable evil dragon was pushed back several meters before he could stabilize himself. After he stabilized himself, the venerable evil dragon stared at the cauldron that had a crack on it and said eerily, "Ning Yu, your friends, the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion, are probably dead now." Crack. As the venerable evil dragon said that, the crack on the cauldron became bigger and bigger. In the end, the cauldron completely shattered. When the cauldron shattered, 2 figures flew out quickly. Swoosh. Swoosh. What? Looking at the 2 figures that flew out, the venerable evil dragon was shocked. They're still alive. The venerable evil dragon swallowed a mouthful of saliva and was dumbfounded. It was understandable that he couldn't completely refine the Dark Emperor and the gold-devouring demon lion after more than half an hour because he hadn't used his full strength. But now that the cauldron had shattered, it was a little unreasonable that they were still alive. "Why did you only come now? I was almost refined by this old fart." The Dark Emperor, who was beside Ning Yu, curled his lips and said, "How much combat power do you have now?" Ning Yu didn't have time to argue with the Dark Emperor. He had something important to do. If the Dark Emperor had combat power, he could stay. If not, it was more practical for him to enter the storage ring as soon as possible. About 80% of his combat power. The Dark Emperor knew that the solemn expression on Ning Yu's face meant that something was about to happen, so he pondered for a moment and said. Ning Yu then looked at the metal-devouring demon lion 70%. The metal-devouring demon lion answered honestly. "Stand back a little." Ning Yu waved his hand, signaling the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion to take a few steps back. The evil dragon Venerable looked on coldly and did not stop Ning Yu. He did not believe that Ning Yu could play any tricks, because in the face of absolute strength, all schemes were useless. Cough, cough. Unrelated people, you should leave the room as soon as possible. I will be fighting with the evil dragon sovereigns later. It would be inappropriate if I accidentally hurt you, Ningyu said in a clear voice. Hua. Ningyu's words caused Yinhua and the others to be stunned. How could a person be so arrogant? Yinhua, what's going on in the room? Just when Yinhua was about to reprimand Ningyu, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable's voice rang in his ears. Yinhua glared at Ningyu and told the Spirit Cauldron Venerable about what happened here. 1 second later. The Spirit Cauldron Venerable pondered for a second. A second later, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable said, "You and Shui Wuming come out first. Don't worry about the matter between the evil dragon sovereign and Ningyu." Hearing the Spirit Cauldron Venerable's reply, Yinhua opened his mouth in confusion. What's going on with Ningyu? Why did the Spirit Cauldron Venerable ask him to go out? Does the Spirit Cauldron Venerable think that Ningyu can fight against the evil dragon sovereign? Shui Wuming, let's go. Just like the Spirit Cauldron Venerable, Yinhua decided to leave after pondering for a second. Swish. After saying that, Yinhua stomped his feet on the ground and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Shui Wuming seemed to have noticed something unusual about Ningyu. He followed behind Yinhua and left the room. Are we leaving or not? At the corner, Yunmu looked at the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and asked. The Spirit Cauldron Venerable's face was gloomy. No one knew what he was thinking. Let's go. After a while, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable grabbed Yunmu and instantly tore the void to leave. At this point, besides the evil dragon sovereign, Shimo, and Zhu Zhan of the 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion, everyone else had left the room. At first, Zhu Zhan wanted to leave, but he thought that Ningyu was only an ordinary manifestation realm martial artist and definitely wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. Therefore, he chose to stay. As for Shimo, he was a peerless genius of the Corpse Yin sect. Since the evil dragon sovereign stayed, he had no reason to leave. Very well. Since you don't want to leave, don't blame me if you get killed later. Ningyu's eyes glanced at Zhu Zhan as he said indifferently. Arrogant. Zhu Zhan coldly snorted. His body shot out, his right hand clenched into a fist, and he punched at Ningyu's chest. Courting death. Originally, Ningyu wanted to let Zhu Zhan live for a while longer, but since he was courting death, Ningyu decided to warm up before fighting with the evil dragon sovereign. With a thought, the red demon sword appeared in his hand. Ningyu took a step forward and slashed down from the sky. Whoosh. Although Zhu Zhan reacted in time, the red demon sword still slashed his chest, causing a bloody wound to appear. You really don't know what's good for you. After succeeding in one move, Ningyu rushed out again and slashed with his sword again. Swish. At this time, Shimo of the Corpse Yin sect rose from the ground and came to help Zhu Zhan. 2 against 1. With the addition of Shimo, the pressure on Zhu Zhan was significantly reduced, and he could even turn from defense to offense. You want to fight me with this little ability? In the distance, the evil dragon sovereign saw the fight between Ningyu and the others. The corner of his mouth curled up and he sinisterly said, if Ningyu only had this little strength, the evil dragon sovereign could kill him at least 100 times, maybe even more. Is that so? The evil dragon sovereign's disdainful words resounded in his ears. The corner of Ningyu's lips also rose. In the next instant, Ningyu's figure suddenly disappeared. Not good. The moment Ningyu disappeared, Zhu Zhan and Shimo sensed that something was amiss. However, their reaction was a little slow. In the blink of an eye, Ningyu appeared beside them. Poof! Poof! 2 consecutive stabs. Blood spurted out. At this moment, the peerless genius of the Corpse Yin sect, Shimo, and the peerless genius of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, Zhu Zhan, had their hearts pierced and died on the spot. Gulp. The sudden change caused the evil dragon sovereign to swallow a mouthful of saliva. Dead. 2 peerless geniuses, 2 first-grade sovereign realm cultivators, were easily killed by Ningyu. How could the evil dragon sovereign not be shocked? One must know that regardless of whether it was the corpse demon or Zhu Zhan, both of them were cultivators that could confront and even kill a second-grade sovereign. But now, they were killed by Ningyu in a single move. Furthermore, it was the kind of attack that they couldn't even react to. Evil dragon sovereign, how is it? Do I have the qualifications to fight with you? Chapter 949. The first eng. Don't get cocky, the evil dragon sovereign snorted. It's not that I'm cocky, but you don't have any helpers now. How are you going to fight me? Ningyu shrugged. Ha ha ha. The venerable evil dragon threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Then, he changed the topic and said coldly, "What can I use to fight you? I'm a pinnacle third-grade sovereign, am I not qualified to fight with you? It's a little risky. My strength is no longer the same as before. A pinnacle third-grade sovereign can't do anything to me," Ningyu said after pondering for a few seconds. Arrogant. The evil dragon sovereign couldn't bear to watch any longer. He stomped on the ground and his body shot out. Dark Emperor, gold-devouring demon lion, guard the door. Inform me the moment the spirit cauldron venerable comes. Ningyu was only provoking the evil dragon sovereign with his words, but his heart was solemn. Therefore, before Ningyu made a move, he told the Dark Emperor and gold-devouring demon lion to be on guard against the spirit cauldron venerable. Half an hour. As long as he had half an hour, he was confident that he could kill the evil dragon sovereign. But if the evil dragon sovereign were to find helpers within this half an hour, the situation would take a turn for the worse. At that time, no one would be able to get anything good out of it. Understood. The Dark Emperor and gold-devouring demon lion responded and flew out of the room. However, the Dark Emperor and gold-devouring demon lion were cautious. When they flew out, their bodies slammed against the wall, creating an illusion of being blasted out. As expected, the illusion worked. Spirit Cauldron Venerable, Ningyu has already started fighting with the evil dragon sovereign. We'll wait until they're both injured before we make a move and reap the benefits. The Bloodslayer Venerable said sinisterly. Low profile, low profile. Although the Spirit Cauldron Venerable said to be low profile, he was laughing in his heart. As long as Ningyu and the evil Dragon Lord were both injured, he would take the opportunity to sneak an attack on the Bloodslayer Lord. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron didn't find any good treasures in the Yellow Level Hall, but in his opinion, there must be a lot of treasures in the Black Level Hall. Good treasures should be enjoyed by oneself and not shared with others. This was the Venerable Spirit Cauldron's code of conduct. However, just as the Venerable Spirit Cauldron thought so did the Venerable Bloodslayer. Venerable Bloodslayer even started to rope in Venerable Talisman Marshal. Talisman Supremacy, let's join forces and get rid of the trouble later. Supremacy Bloodslayer secretly transmitted his voice to Supremacy Talisman Marshal. Let's split the Dharma treasures in the Mystic Hall in half. I'll think about it. Venerable Talisman Marshal said expressionlessly. You really do need to think about it. Don't go astray. Venerable Bloodslayer's threatening tone resounded. This time, Supremacy Talisman Marshal did not answer and chose to close his eyes to rest. In fact, the Talisman Supremacy and the Spirit Cauldron Supremacy had reached an agreement just now. They would attack together and kill Venerable Bloodslayer. Compared to Venerable Bloodslayer, the Spirit Cauldron Supremacy was much more sincere. He made a heavenly Tao oath in his voice transmission. The content of the oath was that as long as they entered the Mystic Hall, they would split the treasures obtained in half. Rumble. While the Spirit Cauldron Supremacy and the others were scheming against each other, in the room at the end of the passage, Ningyu had already started fighting with the Venerable Evil Dragon. He's actually so strong. As the battle progressed, the Venerable Evil Dragon became more and more shocked. At first, the Venerable Evil Dragon thought that Ningyu was just SOSO and not too strong. However, the more they fought, the more the Venerable Evil Dragon realized his stupidity. Ningyu was not just strong, but very strong, terrifyingly strong. No wonder he could kill Corpse Demon and Zhu Zhan in an instant. Could he have obtained some benefits? The Venerable Evil Dragon knew that Ningyu's strength was not that strong at the beginning. How did he become so strong in just half an hour? It's not good to be distracted now. Ningyu took advantage of the moment when the Venerable Evil Dragon was distracted. His figure flashed, and with the red demon sword in his hand, he suddenly stabbed at the Venerable Evil Dragon. Ding! At the critical moment, the Venerable Evil Dragon took out a flying sword. The King Grade Flying Sword, Broken Cloud Sword. As a Grade 3 human sovereign of the Corpse Yin sect, It was reasonable for the venerable evil dragon to have a king-grade flying sword. The broken cloud sword and the red demon sword made a crisp sound when they collided. Ning Yu and the venerable evil dragon retreated a few feet at the same time and stabilized their bodies. Venerable evil dragon, is that all you've got? Ning Yu still had that carefree look on his face, and his tone was neither happy nor sad. Me. That's all you've got. Although the venerable evil dragon thought that Ning Yu was very strong, he couldn't let himself be at a disadvantage on the surface. Let me tell you a secret. Ning Yu rolled his eyes and said, Venerable Spirit Cauldron and Venerable Bloodslayer didn't make things difficult for me. They opened the door and let me in. Even if you don't tell me, I know it's those two bastards. The venerable evil dragon said coldly. If I'm not mistaken, they must be waiting for both sides to suffer heavy losses before they take us all out in one fell swoop. Ning Yu said. What do you mean? The venerable evil dragon knew that if they continued fighting, he wouldn't be able to kill Ning Yu, and Ning Yu wouldn't be able to kill him. Under this premise, it was better to save some energy. Sure enough, I fell for it. Ning Yu rejoiced in his heart, but then he said calmly, it's very simple. We'll join forces and kill Venerable Spirit Cauldron and Venerable Bloodslayer. Then, we'll split the treasures inside 50-50. Why should I believe you? The venerable evil dragon said. Because you have no other choice. Ning Yu said indifferently. Shamo died in battle. Among the 5 forces in the yellow level hall, you're the weakest. I'm the weakest. You're no better. The venerable evil dragon said coldly, don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. You're definitely trying to distract me and then sneak attack me. After saying that, the venerable evil dragon stared at Ning Yu, looking very proud. 1 second, Ning Yu didn't speak. 2 seconds, Ning Yu still didn't speak. Not good. It wasn't until the 3rd second that the venerable evil dragon finally reacted. However, by the time the venerable evil dragon reacted, it was obviously a little too late. Poochie. Ning Yu appeared behind him. A sword stabbed out, directly piercing his heart. You. The venerable evil dragon turned to look at Ning Yu, then looked down at the flying sword at his heart, and said, My body is so hard, how could you pierce through it? I'm sorry, but you're only a pinnacle grade 3 human sovereign. The hardness of your body is limited. Ning Yu said with a slightly apologetic tone, This flying sword of mine is a royal grade flying sword. It can even pierce through the body of a 4th or 5th grade human sovereign, not to mention you. Poochie. As he spoke, Ning Yu pulled the red demon sword out of the venerable evil dragon's heart. The tearing pain brought by the flying sword made the venerable evil dragon, who was already on the verge of collapse, faint on the spot. Such a strong vitality. The venerable evil dragon only fainted, not truly dead. Chapter 950. Succeed not dead. Staring at the evil dragon venerable, Ning Yu's lips curled up as he thought of a countermeasure. After about 10 minutes, 2 martial artists slowly walked out of the room. What? When the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion saw 2 familiar figures walk out of the room, their eyes widened in shock. It was no wonder that the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion were shocked. Because the martial artist being controlled was not the evil dragon venerable, but Ning Yu. The Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring demon lion followed Ning Yu's instructions and focused their attention on the venerable spirit cauldron. When Ning Yu and the evil dragon venerable were fighting, the Dark Emperor took a few glances and realized that Ning Yu had the absolute advantage, so he no longer paid attention. Who would have thought that such a thing would happen in the end? Cooperate. Just as the Dark Emperor was about to save Ning Yu, a voice sounded in his mind. Hearing this, the Dark Emperor was stunned at first, and then he cried out loudly. Venerable evil dragon, I advise you to quickly release Ning Yu. Otherwise, I will let you know what cruelty is. You are already heavily injured. The Dark Emperor and I don't even need to use our full strength to kill you. The gold-devouring demon lion also cooperated and said, if you know what's good for you, then, Shio. It was fine when the Dark Emperor spoke, but before the gold-devouring demon lion could finish speaking, a cold light flew out from the evil dragon sovereign's sleeve and headed straight for him. Poochie. The metal-devouring demon lion spat out a mouthful of blood when it was struck in the chest by the cold light. It fainted on the spot. What happened? Seeing what happened on Ningyu's side, the venerable spirit cauldron and the others at the entrance of the passage suddenly stood up and said in surprise, "Hehe, what else could it be? Ningyu is being controlled by the evil dragon sovereign." Venerable Bloodslayer seemed to have guessed what had happened. He waved his hand and said with a smile, "In my opinion, the evil dragon sovereign must have suffered heavy injuries. Why don't we join hands and kill him? I want to give up on this matter." "I'll leave it to you," the venerable spirit cauldron said shrewdly. "Ha ha ha, how can you achieve great things if you are so timid in everything you do?" Venerable Bloodslayer raised his head and laughed wildly. Then, he stomped his feet on the ground and dashed forward. Whoosh! Behind Venerable Bloodslayer, Xue Wuming pondered for a moment before following closely. Since Venerable Bloodslayer had left, how could Xue Wuming dare to stay? Talisman supremacy, remember our agreement later. Looking at Venerable Bloodslayer's departing figure, Venerable Spirit Cauldron said faintly, "Don't worry." Talisman supremacy answered with 2 words before closing his eyes to rest. "Humph. Show off in front of me. Let's see if you can still show off later." The Venerable Spirit Cauldron was obviously very dissatisfied with the Venerable Talisman Marshal's answer. Although he was dissatisfied, he had a favor to ask after all. Only when the troubles in the Yellow Level Palace Hall were resolved would the fangs of the Venerable Spirit Cauldron be revealed. But now, it was just time for him to play his cards. "Do you need my help?" In the distance, Venerable Bloodslayer had already arrived in front of Ningyu and the others. He said to the Venerable Evil Dragon in a strange tone, "Ningyu is extremely cunning. You have to kill him completely so that you won't be deceived by him." The Venerable Evil Dragon's face was expressionless as he did not answer Venerable Bloodslayer's words. "Huh!" The Venerable Evil Dragon's reaction was a little out of Venerable Bloodslayer's expectations. Venerable Bloodslayer did not expect the Venerable Evil Dragon to be so arrogant. "You're already seriously injured, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. You're simply courting death. Venerable Evil Dragon, why don't you hand over Ningyu to me? Let me kill him." Although he had guessed that the Venerable Evil Dragon was seriously injured, he would not act rashly before he had a clear understanding of the situation. Bang! This time, although the Venerable Evil Dragon did not answer Venerable Bloodslayer, he pushed the weak Ningyu towards Venerable Bloodslayer with his right hand. Looking at the approaching Ningyu, the Venerable Bloodslayer raised his right leg and kicked Ningyu's chest. A huge force came from Ningyu's chest, sending him flying. He only stopped when he crashed into the wall. Fart! Ningyu spat out a mouthful of blood. His weak body became even weaker. Venerable Evil Dragon, we'll enter the Blackgrade Great Hall next. In my opinion, it's better for us to work together. After pushing Ningyu back, Venerable Bloodslayer walked towards the Venerable Evil Dragon step by step. Venerable Bloodslayer walked very slowly, almost pausing with every step. At the same time, Venerable Bloodslayer also released his perception as he moved forward, paying close attention to the Venerable Evil Dragon's reaction. As long as the Venerable Evil Dragon showed the slightest flaw, he would immediately attack and kill the Venerable Evil Dragon. Why is the Venerable Evil Dragon so listless? After taking 3 to 4 steps, Venerable Bloodslayer muttered in his heart. The Venerable Evil Dragon was indeed a little abnormal at the moment, extremely abnormal. It didn't make sense for the Venerable Evil Dragon to be like this. Could it be that he's pretending to be weak? Oh no. Venerable Bloodslayer muttered in his heart again. However, before he could finish his sentence, his expression changed drastically. This was because he felt a strong gust of wind coming from behind him. "Be careful." Xue Wuming shouted to warn Venerable Bloodslayer. Swoosh! Venerable Bloodslayer suddenly turned around and saw Ningyu rushing towards him. To be honest, Venerable Bloodslayer was very worried at first. However, when he saw that the martial artist rushing towards him was Ningyu, his worries were swept away. "Ningyu, there's a way out for you, but you chose to barge into hell. Since that's the case, I'll let you know what cruelty is." Venerable Bloodslayer's expression was cold as he shouted in a low voice. "You can turn around and take a look." At this moment, Ningyu suddenly stopped on the spot. 0.01 seconds later, Ningyu suddenly turned around and charged towards Xue Wuming with the red demonic sword in his hand. Rustle! Rustle! As for the Dark Emperor and gold-devouring Demon Lion, their figures had also flashed and entered the room. Me. It's not that easy to trick me to turn around. Venerable Bloodslayer coldly snorted. Rumble. Reality had proven that, at times, one had to believe in the words of their enemies. In the next moment, the venerable evil dragon's body gradually expanded and exploded. Poof! In that second when the venerable evil dragon exploded, the red demonic sword in Ningyu's hand had already pierced into Xue Wuming's heart. The explosion of a pinnacle third-grade sovereign was extremely powerful. After killing Xue Wuming, Ningyu broke open the room closest to him and entered. Not good, get into formation. The sudden incident had caused the faces of the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest to drastically change. Without any time to think, they had immediately summoned the origin chi in their consciousness and sealed the passage. Rumble. Although the venerable spirit cauldron and the rest had already sealed the passage with their origin chi, they still couldn't withstand the aftermath of the explosion. The power of the explosion of a third-grade sovereign was terrifying. Sizzle. Chapter 951. Puff, 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 puff. After the Yuan Qi barrier shattered, the terrifying shock wave mercilessly ravaged Spirit Cauldron the Venerable and the others. In a hurry, Spirit Cauldron the Venerable and the others had no way to resist. At the entrance of the passage, Spirit Cauldron the Venerable and the others each spurted out a mouthful of red blood, and their peak aura was instantly reduced by half. Crash! The explosion came quickly, and it dissipated quickly as well. Only 4 or 5 minutes later, the aftermath of the evil dragon Venerable's explosion completely dissipated. Swish! At the same time, Ningyu suddenly sprang out of the room and instantly appeared in front of Spirit Cauldron the Venerable and the others. Ningyu, you're the one behind all this. Spirit Cauldron the Venerable's face was very ugly. He felt that he had been played by Ningyu. In the past, he still wanted to plot against Ningyu, but who would have thought that he would be played by Ningyu? Don't say it so harshly. Ningyu said, you want to kill me, and I want to kill you. It's fair. Fair. Humph. Do you think you can kill me? Spirit Cauldron the Venerable snorted coldly. How do you know if you don't try? Ningyu shrugged and said. Spirit Cauldron the Venerable had suffered a serious injury, and his strength had been reduced by at least half. Besides, even if Spirit Cauldron the Venerable still had his peak combat strength, Ningyu was still not afraid. Courting death. Spirit Cauldron the Venerable growled, and his body rushed out in an instant. As Spirit Cauldron the Venerable rushed out, an extremely terrifying gust of wind swept out from his sleeves, and arrived in front of Ningyu before Spirit Cauldron the Venerable. Kai. Ningyu's face was expressionless, holding the red demon sword, and slashed out in the air. A crisp sound rang out, and the cold light thrown out by Spirit Cauldron the Venerable was easily cut in half. At the same time, Spirit Cauldron the Venerable also arrived in front of Ningyu. A punch, carrying a violent Yuan Qi gale, ruthlessly smashed towards Ningyu's head. Although the Spirit Cauldron Venerable One only had 30% of his combat power left, he used up all his strength in that punch and even emptied his body. Success or failure, it all depended on this. Life and death palm. Ningyu's face was solemn. The primordial chi in his sea of consciousness was crazily injected into his palm, and he made a backhand slap. Pa. The enormous force that came from his palm made Ningyu feel that it was unreal. Why was the venerable Spirit Cauldron still so powerful? Whoosh. Whoosh. Next, Ningyu and the Venerable One took a few steps back at the same time. Poochie. After stabilizing himself, Ningyu spat out a mouthful of blood. Ningyu, do you think I only have 50% of my strength left? To tell you the truth, my strength isn't something you can guess. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and. After repelling Ningyu with a single move, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron said sinisterly. You talk a lot of nonsense. Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He stomped on the ground and rushed out again. This time, Ningyu did not dare to be careless and dealt with the venerable spirit cauldron as if he was at his peak. In the hall, Ningyu and the venerable spirit cauldron were engaged in a fierce battle. At the corner of the hall, the venerable talisman marshal and Yun Mu were watching the fight from the sidelines. Aunt Yun, between Ningyu and the venerable spirit cauldron, who do you think will win? Yun Mu asked doubtfully. It has nothing to do with us. We just need to take care of ourselves. The venerable talisman marshal said in a deep voice. Before knowing the true strength of the venerable spirit cauldron and Ningyu, she would never help anyone. The venerable spirit cauldron had hidden his strength so deeply, and she did not want to join hands with someone like him. Moreover, Ningyu was crafty and cunning. He had repeatedly used schemes to kill the venerable evil dragon and the venerable blood extermination. He was not a good person either. Under this premise, she could only take care of herself and not help either side. Ningyu, I advise you to surrender. Otherwise, I'll make you die a horrible death. In the air, the venerable spirit cauldron shouted while fighting with Ningyu. How can you say something like that? You're simply stupid. Ningyu said disdainfully. Subsequently, Ningyu glanced at the venerable talisman marshal and said, when the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. I don't think I need to say that. Bang! The venerable spirit cauldron was not a fool. He forced Ningyu back with a punch and floated in the air. You might be curious as to why I advanced to the peak of the creation realm. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, the reason I was able to advance to the peak of the creation realm was because I found a great recovery pill in the first room. What? A great recovery pill? Upon hearing Ningyu's words, the venerable spirit cauldron finally lost his composure. The great revitalizing pill was a peak grade 8 medicinal pill, and its effect was very good. Even though he had advanced to 3rd grade human sovereign, consuming the great recovery pill was still very effective. Seeing the reaction of the venerable spirit cauldron, the corners of Ningyu's mouth curled up slightly, and he continued, there are great recover pills in the yellow level hall, so you can imagine that there must be many good treasures in the black level hall. What are you trying to say? Venerable spirit cauldron said coldly. Nothing much. I just wanted to tell you that there's a mid-stage 8th order demonic beast guarding the entrance of the profound grade Great Hall. That mid-stage 8th order demonic beast is called the fierce gale wolf, and its strength is much stronger than the three-headed serpent. Ningyu said, with your and talisman martial supremacy's strength, it should be very difficult for you to contend against the gale wolves. Why don't the three of us join forces? That way, we should be able to successfully enter the yellow level hall. How did you know that there were fierce wind wolves guarding the entrance of the yellow level hall? Venerable Spirit Cauldron said in a deep voice. At this moment, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron felt that he couldn't understand Ningyu anymore. Being on the same side as Ningyu was like asking a tiger for its skin. Bone Demon, Crimson Bat Monarch. Ningyu said as he stretched out 2 fingers. I heard about it from them. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. Right now, you have 2 choices. When he spoke up to this point, Ningyu paused for a moment before he said, firstly, if we continue fighting, then it's very likely that both of us will be heavily injured, and the third party will benefit from the battle. Secondly, let's join forces and enter the profound hall to search for treasures. You can't agree to it. Before the Venerable Spirit Cauldron could reply, Yin Hua, who was standing beside him, had already spoken out. Yin Hua had fought with Ningyu before, so he knew that Ningyu was extremely cunning. Anyone that was involved with Ningyu would have a good ending. Someone like Ningyu should be killed. Alright, I agree to it. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron didn't listen to Yin Hua's suggestion. He pondered for a full 3 minutes before he said, our alliance will only be limited to dealing with the fierce wind wolves. Once we enter the profound hall, it'll be up to fate. I don't mind. Ningyu didn't bargain with the Venerable Spirit Cauldron any further. He turned around and walked towards the depths of the passageway. The Venerable Spirit Cauldron didn't set off, and he seemed to be discussing something with the talisman martial supremacy. Ningyu didn't care about the conversation between the venerable spirit cauldron and the talisman martial supremacy at all. He arrived outside the room where the Dark Emperor and metal-devouring demon lion were. "Come on out. Let's go to the profound hall." Within the room, the Dark Emperor and metal-devouring demon lion were in a rather miserable state. A lot of their fur had been burnt off, and if the formation in the room hadn't been triggered at the critical moment, they would have died a long time ago. The venerable spirit cauldron and the others have been dealt with. The Dark Emperor and metal-devouring demon lion tidied themselves up slightly before walking out of the room. Chapter 952. Gale Wolf. Even if all of you die, I won't be killed. Just when the Dark Emperor came out of the room, the spirit cauldron venerable walked past him and said coldly, "I'm going to kill you." Hearing the spirit cauldron venerable's words, the Dark Emperor couldn't help cursing and immediately flew to Ningyu's side. At least the Dark Emperor knew his limits. The spirit cauldron venerable was a grade 3 sovereign. With his strength, even if he self-destructed, it would be hard for him to threaten the spirit cauldron venerable. At this moment, he should be firmly tied to Ningyu and leave a powerful cultivator like the spirit cauldron venerable to Ningyu. "Don't make a fuss. Follow me to the profound hall." Ningyu waved his hand, indicating that the Dark Emperor didn't have to worry. "How can I not worry?" the Dark Emperor muttered before he followed Ningyu into the depths of the passage. "Violet gold sky devouring hound, you better hope that you don't fall into my hands. Otherwise, I'll let you know the meaning of cruelty." The spirit cauldron venerable's lips rose as he said sinisterly, "Rustle." The passage to the yellow hall wasn't too deep. After a few minutes, Ningyu and the rest arrived at the depths of the passage. Looking at the stone wall before him, Ningyu fell into deep thoughts. The profound hall should be right next to the yellow hall. In other words, the profound hall should be behind the stone wall. Spirit cauldron venerable, talisman venerable, let's work together to blast open the stone wall. After a brief moment of silence, Ningyu turned around and said, "I have no objections." The talisman venerable replied, "I have no objections either." The spirit cauldron venerable shrugged. "It's better for unrelated people to stay behind." Ningyu glanced at Yinhua and said indifferently, "You." Yinhua glared at Ningyu fiercely and then retreated angrily to the back. As for the Dark Emperor and metal-devouring lion, they also took a few steps back. Yunmu could clearly see the situation before her. Without any hesitation, she retreated to the side of the Dark Emperor and metal-devouring lion. "Attack!" Seeing that the Dark Emperor had successfully retreated, Ningyu let out a low bellow and slashed out with the red demon sword. Kai Kai! The huge sword wave made a circle in mid-air before blasting towards the stone wall. Whoosh! Whoosh! Seeing Ningyu make a move, the spirit cauldron venerable and the talisman martial venerable both waved their hands and each blasted out a palm print. In the blink of an eye, the two palm prints and the sword wave blasted on the stone wall. Catcher! As soon as the three powerful attacks came into contact with the stone wall, a crisp sound rang out. Then, a crack appeared in the middle of the stone wall. Ka. The cracks grew larger and larger. Finally, the stone wall collapsed. Roar! As soon as the stone wall collapsed, Ningyu and the others heard the howl of a wolf. Fierce wind wolves. Even though Ningyu and the rest were prepared, they could not help but gasp when they sensed the terrifying aura emanating from the Gale Wolf before them. If Bone Devil hadn't died, Ningyu would have given him a few more blows. This was considered slightly stronger than the three-headed serpent. Damn it, this was too powerful. The three-headed serpent was only equivalent to a fourth-grade human sovereign, but the Gale Wolf was equivalent to a pinnacle fourth-grade human sovereign. He was only a step away from advancing to a fifth-grade human sovereign. If Ningyu and the Spirit Cauldron Venerable worked together and revealed their trump cards, they could contend against a fourth-grade human sovereign. They might even have the chance to kill a fourth-grade human sovereign demonic beast. However, the Gale Wolf before them was simply too powerful. It was so powerful that Ningyu and the rest felt that it was impossible to defeat it. Ningyu, it's all your fault. The Spirit Cauldron Venerable swallowed a mouthful of saliva as he berated Ningyu. The talisman Marshal Venerable's expression was also ugly. They had been tricked by Ningyu. They had all been tricked by Ningyu. Humans, you guys definitely want to enter the profound hall. I can let you in. At this moment, the Gale Wolf spoke. Let us in. Ningyu and the rest widened their eyes in confusion. Could it be that a pie had fallen from the sky? Otherwise, why would the Gale Wolf say such a thing? I only have one request. You guys have to promise to do something for me. As expected, there was no such thing as a pie falling from the sky. The Gale Wolf spoke again. As long as you guys can do it for me, not only will I not interfere with your treasure hunt in the profound hall, I will even help you enter the Earth Hall. Are you serious? The Spirit Cauldron Venerable's eyes lit up. What is it? Let's talk inside. The Gale Wolf turned around and entered the profound hall. What's there to be afraid of? Since we're already here, we definitely have to enter. The Spirit Cauldron Venerable said as he strode into the profound hall. The Talisman Marshal Venerable pondered for a few seconds before entering the profound hall as well. Are we going in? The Dark Emperor, who was beside Ningyu, asked. Let's go in. Ningyu took a deep breath and immediately moved his feet to follow. Compared to the yellow-ranked halls, the black-ranked halls were much larger, to a frightening degree. The Gale Wolf led Ningyu and the others in the hall for a long time before finally stopping in a slightly empty area. What I want you to do is very simple. Take down the white box above. The Gale Wolf said. White box. The eyes of Ningyu and the others flickered and finally fell on a white box on a high platform in the distance. Why is it the same size as the golden box? Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. The white box was neither too big nor too small, just the same size as the box containing the Great Recovery Pill. Could it be a coincidence? Ningyu murmured. Ningyu, do you want to give it a try first? At this moment, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable's voice rang in Ningyu's ears. Your cultivation is the highest here. In my opinion, it's better for you to give it a try first. Ningyu said calmly. That's right. I also agree that you should give it a try first. The Talisman Venerable echoed. You. Ningyu and the Talisman Venerable mocked him together, causing the Spirit Cauldron Venerable's expression to turn ugly. Your cultivation is the highest. You'll do it. Go and see if you can get the white box first. The Gale Wolf looked at the Spirit Cauldron Venerable and shifted his gaze to the white box. No problem. Although he was furious, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable did not dare to show it. After all, the Gale Wolf was the strongest here. Once he offended the Gale Wolf, it would be a bitter battle. The Spirit Cauldron Venerable did not immediately take the white box but moved step by step. There was no need to think about it. There must be an array around the white box. Otherwise, with the Gale Wolf's cultivation, it would be impossible for him not to take the white box. Don't worry, there is indeed an array around the white box, but it's only for demonic beasts. You're a human and won't be affected by the array. Leng Kie seemed to know what the Spirit Cauldron Venerable was thinking and said. All right. The Spirit Cauldron Venerable's expression was solemn as his body instantly shot out. Bang! However, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable did not fly far before he was bounced back by an invisible rebound force. Falling heavily on the ground, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable's expression was very ugly. Gale Wolf, didn't you say not to worry? Why was I bounced back? Chapter 953. 50 times gravity. Even a martial artist in the creation realm can pass through the outermost barrier. You can't. The first half of the fierce Gale Wolf's words were fine, but the second half took a turn and said coldly, since that's the case, what's the point of keeping you alive? With that, the fierce Gale Wolf's hind hooves stomped on the ground, and its body darted out in an instant. Wait, let me try again. Seeing that the Gale Wolf was angry, the Venerable Spirit Cauldron rushed out of the white box once again. This time, he used all his strength. Violent energy fluctuations appeared on his hands as he ruthlessly slammed them against the barrier. Kai. No matter what, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable was a third-grade human sovereign, and the power of his all-out attack was still very great. He blasted a hole in the transparent barrier, and his body instantly squeezed through it. Pressure. As soon as he entered the barrier, the venerable spirit cauldron felt his body sinking heavily. The pressure within the barrier was at least 50 times that of the outside world. Under 50 times the gravity, even a third-grade human sovereign like the spirit cauldron venerable would find it a little difficult. Dragging his heavy legs, the spirit cauldron venerable one walked toward the white box step by step. Ningyu, why is venerable spirit cauldron reacting like this? The Dark Emperor moved slightly closer to Ningyu and asked doubtfully. Gravity. Ningyu stretched out 5 fingers and said, the gravity inside the barrier is at least 50 times. Otherwise, with the venerable spirit cauldron's strength, it wouldn't be like this. 50 times gravity. The Dark Emperor could not help but gasp. That's right. Ningyu could see that the gravity inside the barrier was 50 times, which made the Gale Wolf look up to him. In the past, many martial artists had come to the profound rank Great Hall, but unfortunately, none of them could see that there was 50 times the gravity inside the barrier. Ningyu, a martial artist at the peak of the creation realm, could actually see through it. He was indeed not simple. I'm very curious. You're only at the peak of the manifestation realm. How did you manage to pass through the yellow level hall? The Gale Wolf said doubtfully, you should know that the 3-headed snake is very powerful. Although the 3-headed snake is very powerful, it can't do anything to us. Ningyu explained. When we entered the Beast King Palace, there were a total of 3 third-grade human supremacies. Now, only Venerable Spirit Cauldron is left. Ha ha ha. The Gale Wolf was stunned for a moment before he burst into laughter. I get it now. You guys paid the price of losing 2 third-grade sovereign realm humans to get here. Exactly. Ningyu nodded. Shoo, 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 shoo. Suddenly, the sound of several arrows piercing through the void rang out. Upon hearing that, Ningyu quickly turned his head to look at the Venerable One. Damn it. Inside the barrier, Venerable Spirit Cauldron cursed and hurriedly took out his flying sword and waved it repeatedly. Ding ding. Arrows that blotted out the sky emerged from the void and shot toward Spirit Cauldron Venerable. Although the Venerable Spirit Cauldron used his flying sword to block the attack, it was useless. Puff puff puff. 3 minutes later, Spirit Cauldron Venerable Spirit Cauldron's body was pierced by countless arrows. One of the arrows pierced the Venerable Spirit Cauldron's forehead. It was this arrow that caused Spirit Cauldron Venerable Spirit Cauldron's death. Venerable Spirit Cauldron, Yinhua yelled after Spirit Cauldron Venerable Spirit Cauldron's death. At this moment, Yinhua's heart sank to the bottom. Spirit Cauldron Venerable Spirit Cauldron was the key to his survival in the Yellow Palace. Now that Spirit Cauldron Venerable Spirit Cauldron had died, he definitely wouldn't have a good ending. Boom. As expected, the Gale Wolf's tail swept and hit Yinhua's body. The huge force that came from his body sent Yinhua flying. Yin Huafei's direction happened to be where Spirit Cauldron Venerable Spirit Cauldron died. After passing through the barrier, Yinhua also felt the pain brought by the 50-fold gravity. What was more terrifying was that the arrows that blotted out the sky appeared once again, turning Yinhua into a sieve. Gulp. This situation made the Dark Emperor and the rest gulp down a mouthful of saliva as their faces turned ugly. How was this taking the white box? They were clearly sending themselves to death. Not to mention the arrows that blotted out the sky, even the 50-fold gravity was more than enough for them. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground inside the barrier caved in. As the ground caved in continuously, the faces of Ningyu and the rest became uglier and uglier. In the end, their faces were completely drained of blood. A huge pit appeared on the ground, and dozens of martial artists were lying in disorder in the pit. Among these martial artists, the lowest cultivation level was at the peak of the manifestation realm, and the highest was even a 4th-grade human sovereign. Unsurprisingly, these martial artists were all going to take the white box for the Gale Wolf. Don't worry, as more people die, the gravity and arrows inside will decrease. The Gale Wolf's words rang out. At first, the gravity inside was 100 times, but now it has decreased to 50 times. At first, the arrows inside were enough to kill a 4th-grade human sovereign, but now they can only kill a 3rd-grade human sovereign. Gale Wolf, Can you tell me what's inside the white box? Ning Yu asked doubtfully. Ning Yu was unwilling to die without knowing why. At the very least, he wanted to find out what was inside the white box before he died. There's no harm in telling you. There's an elixir inside the white box. After pondering for a moment, the Gale Wolf said, a peak 8th grade elixir. My cultivation has reached a bottleneck. As long as I can get the elixir inside the white box, I might even be able to improve further. Further? Ning Yu frowned slightly and said, you mean, the elixir inside the white box can help you advance to the 5th grade human sovereign realm? That's right. I can see that you're quite capable. How about this, you go and get the white box. The Gale Wolf said. I can help you get the white box, but you have to promise me that you won't make things difficult for the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring lion, Ning Yu said in a deep voice. I'm not a wolf that goes back on his words. If you can help me get the white box, I won't make things difficult for them. But if you fail, I can't guarantee what will happen. As he spoke, the Gale Wolf swept his tail and whipped it at Ning Yu. Swoosh. Seeing that he was about to be whipped, Ning Yu's figure flashed and he dashed towards the barrier first. Kai Kai. A violent wave of yuan qi appeared on Ning Yu's fist as he punched the barrier. An opening appeared on the barrier. Ning Yu seized the fleeting opportunity and entered the barrier. 50 times the gravity. As soon as he entered the barrier, Ning Yu felt his legs sink, as though he was about to fall into the pit. Rise. The yuan qi in his sea of consciousness surged out and gathered on his legs. Ning Yu forcefully floated in the air. Whoosh. Before Ning Yu could fully adapt to the 50 times gravity, countless arrows shot out from the void and attacked him from all directions. Watch out! Outside the barrier, the Dark Emperor and the metal-devouring lion shouted at the same time. They had already witnessed the power of the arrows. They could even kill a 3rd grade human sovereign, the Spirit Cauldron Venerable, let alone a peak manifestation realm Ning Yu. Chapter 954. Break. Ding. Ding. Inside the barrier, Ning Yu wielded the red demon sword and waved it repeatedly. Crisp sounds rang out one after another. Countless arrows fell into the pit on the ground like kites with broken strings. Your strength is decent, but I wonder if you can help me get the white box. The happiest person was the Gale Wolf outside the barrier when Ning Yu was not killed by the arrows immediately. One had to know that only 2 or 3 of the martial artists who had entered the barrier could withstand the arrows for so long. And none of these martial artists were lower than a 3rd grade human supreme. Looks like the quality of this batch of martial artists who entered the Beast King's palace is decent. The Gale Wolf murmured as he stared at Ning Yu inside the barrier. Swoosh. Suddenly, an arrow streaked past Ning Yu's cheek. In an instant, a bloody mark appeared. Damn it. Cursing in his heart, Ning Yu quickly channeled all the yuan qi in his sea of consciousness into the red demon sword. He was highly focused and did not dare to be distracted. In this situation, Ning Yu could be riddled with arrows if he was distracted for even a second. I have to think of a way to get close to the white box. The situation was not looking good for Ning Yu. Seeing that there were more and more arrows, Ning Yu decided to take the risk and get close to the white box. Swoosh. Just as Ning Yu was moving his body step by step, an arrow as thick as an arm pierced through the air. At the same time, an overwhelming number of arrows tore through the air and shot toward Ning Yu. Solitaire. At the critical moment, Ning Yu used all the strength in his body and slashed out a shocking sword wave. The sword wave was extremely fast. Under the shocked gazes of the Dark Emperor and the rest, it collided with the huge arrow. What? The next moment, Ning Yu's expression changed drastically. Because the sword wave he unleashed could not even block the arrow for a second. The arrow tore through the sword wave and arrived before him. Puff. While Ning Yu was unprepared, the arrow pierced directly into Ning Yu's body. Fortunately, Ning Yu had dodged to the side. Otherwise, if the arrow had pierced his heart, he would have died on the spot. Bang! Although Ning Yu reacted in time, the huge force of the arrow still forced his body several feet back, and he finally crashed into an invisible barrier. Whoosh! 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 As soon as Ning Yu crashed into the barrier, The countless arrows abruptly stopped and tore through the void before disappearing. The disappearance of the arrows not only shocked Ningyu, but even the Gale Wolf was in disbelief. One had to know that the Gale Wolves had never encountered such a situation before. "Are you lying to me?" The Gale Wolf's expression was very ugly. In fact, the white box did not contain an 8th grade elixir, but an extremely important item. It was an item that determined whether the fierce Gale Wolf could escape from the Beast King's palace. Similar to the 6-winged sky-soaring python, the Gale Wolf was also restricted in the Beast King's palace. The only difference was that the 6-winged sky-soaring python only needed to find a way to break the python trapping formation to regain its freedom. And the Gale Wolf needed to obtain the item in the white box to regain its freedom. Otherwise, why would the Gale Wolf be so busy here? "Brat, hurry up and take out the white box for me." Thinking of this, the Gale Wolf shouted. Phew. Ningyu let out a long breath, sat down cross-legged, and began to recuperate. The pressure of contending against the arrows was no less than fighting against a 3rd-grade supreme martial artist. He had already encountered such a great danger before even approaching the white box. One could imagine how dangerous the situation would be when he approached the white box. Therefore, Ningyu did not care about the Gale Wolf's roars and focused on recuperating. "Brat, do you want to die?" the Gale Wolf berated. In fact, the Gale Wolf even unleashed his aura to suppress the Dark Emperor and the others, using this to threaten Ningyu. "Gale Wolf, in my current state, even if I obtain the white box, I won't be able to pass through the arrow formation." Ningyu said in a deep voice, "If you don't want the white box, you can make your move." Ningyu could ignore the Gale Wolf's roars, but he definitely had to care about the Dark Emperor's life. "I'll give you an hour. You better not play any tricks. Otherwise, I'll let you know the meaning of cruelty." The Gale Wolf left behind a ruthless sentence, then retracted his aura and glared at Ningyu. The item in the white box was crucial to whether he could successfully leave the Beast King's palace. The Gale Wolf did not want any unforeseen events to happen. Among so many cultivators, Ningyu had the highest chance of obtaining the white box. Naturally, the Gale Wolf had to keep a close eye on it. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. The wound on Ningyu's chest had gradually healed. The essence in his sea of consciousness had also recovered to its peak state. Break. Ningyu didn't want to waste any time. He injected his primordial chi into his fist and punched the barrier with a backhand. Sheeing. Under Ningyu's powerful attack, the barrier merely shook for a moment before it completely cracked. F***CK. Even Ningyu was a little surprised to blast the barrier open with a single punch. Originally, Ningyu thought that he would need at least 3 to 4 punches to blast the barrier open. Who would have thought that he would succeed with a single punch? This was truly out of his expectations. After sorting out his thoughts, Ningyu moved his feet and stepped into the barrier. Hiss. As soon as he entered the barrier, Ningyu gasped in shock. This gasp was not from fear, but from shock. Too shocking. Ningyu could clearly feel that the closer he got to the white box, the denser the essence became. The degree of the essence was even denser than the forbidden grounds of some of the major sects. "What are you dawdling for? Hurry up and bring the white box over." Seeing that Ningyu had successfully broken the barrier, the fierce Gale Wolf's face turned heated. "Sapling, let's make a deal, shall we?" Ningyu's eyes darted around as he came up with a devious idea. The sapling was indeed very strong, but to get its help, the first requirement was energy or essence. As long as there was energy and essence, the sapling would be able to help in battle. Based on Ningyu's guess, the sapling's current combat strength should be equivalent to a 5th-grade human supreme being. Furthermore, it was a peak 5th-grade human supreme being. "I want the item in the white box." The reply to Ningyu was a sentence that made Ningyu speechless. Ningyu had planned to use the essence in this area to trade with the sapling. Unexpectedly, the sapling was a little greedy and actually wanted the item in the white box. "It's not that you can't have it, but I have a condition. You must first help me deal with the fierce Gale Wolf outside," Ningyu said. The fierce Gale Wolf had gone through so much trouble to obtain the white box, but you actually wanted to snatch it from the fierce Gale Wolf. Ningyu's idea was simple. You can have the white box, but you must first get rid of the fierce Gale Wolf. However, what the sapling said next made Ningyu want to curse. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.